This week on Dragon Ball Z, Goku is coming up against his biggest opponents yet, where he's facing off against one Mr. Puzzles, the Team Retrogue, and a steam machine. All of that and more this week on Dragon Ball Z!
Got you! Never fought someone quite as powerful as you are.
Let's go!
I think it's about time to give the city something new to talk about. See you, man! What is this strange energy I see?
Dragon Ball Z. Dragon, come get
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week, I got two homeboys. And that would be one, Mr. Retrogue. I combined both your names. Team Retrogue, which is Mr. Mikhailov. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm getting ready to just scream at the top of my lungs for a good hour or so while energy just kind of flows around me.
Wonderful. And then we've also got one Mr. Puzzles, Dane himself. Dane, how are you doing, man?
I am not unwell.
Tremendous.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. And I'm glad that you are not unwell. I'm glad that you are doing good, because you and I both went through a hurricane that could have went a lot worse for us. And I want to give like a huge, good vibes and thoughts out, prayers, if that's your thing, to everyone who was super affected. Like, I've got some friends that are in West North Carolina that they were not ready for what they got. And it is a sad ordeal up there. So I really hope that, I just wanted to start off with just good vibes to them, and hopefully we can, as a country, get them some help.
Yeah, I was on the outer edge of the full-blown fuckery, and we were out of power for a day and a half. There's places some people I go to church with, they just got power back yesterday, and there's still some folks that still haven't got power out there. So
yeah, and there are, from pictures and videos I've seen, there are entire towns that are no longer there. The water has washed the buildings, the roads, all of it's gone. It's just barren earth.
There was also a dam that failed in Rutherford County, and they had maybe 2 hours notice that it was failing.
Dude,
It's a whole town disappear.
Dude, I'll send you pictures after we're done, and it's just it'll blow your fucking mind. One of my friends, now this is kind of like a trigger warning, so maybe skip ahead a minute if you don't want to hear about death and things like that. She said, I can't remember the name of the river. It starts with a B. But there's a river, and she's like, it smells like bodies. When you're driving in these particular areas where there's literally towns and stuff that are inaccessible. The roads have been destroyed. So people are trying their best to get out there and see who's still there, who is alive, how many people are dead. And there are linemen apparently going into areas before first responders have a chance to get there, that they're just seeing where the river was, and there's just fucking bodies laid out and stuff. And it's dude, they really were not prepared for the storm. It was once in 1,000 years chance that they would get the amount of rain and stuff that they did.
The weather has just been absolutely nuts lately. I would say in the last 2 months. Last month, we got something really nasty up here where, we didn't lose whole towns or anything, but, people lost entire houses, literally just gone. Somebody's house in a town that my sister-in-law lives in, it's just not there anymore. The house is just gone completely.
Ryan, up where he lives in Hornell, New York, when there was that big bad storm, he showed me that there were houses that we drove by when I was up there that had washed away because water coming down the mountains just took them away. Fucking incredible, man.
Wow. That's nuts.
As much as I used to love fucking with natural disasters and Sim City and stuff when I was a kid, they are actually terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that
up in Boone, where I usually do my dashing, we actually went up there a couple of days ago and looked around just to see what it was like, because it's calmed down. They've got a bunch of the stuff cleaned up, and a buddy of mine was literally on his honeymoon when all this storm came through, and they they had the mandatory evacuation order, and he had to get out after one day of his honeymoon. The Walmart up in Boone was under 4 feet of water.
Wow.
Just totally wrecked everything. We drove around. You could still see where they were cleaning up some of the stuff. Anyone on a ground floor apartment, all their stuff destroyed. When you think mountains, you don't think flooding.
Yeah.
And when the storm hit, it just hit up against the mountains and it squeezed all the water out of it like a sponge. And when you get up in the mountains, the ground, the actual dirt is so shallow before you hit rock, there's nowhere for it to go. I was actually up in Boone when the rain started, and within 20 minutes, one of the main roads that goes through there, the outside lanes were already under ankle-deep water. And I saw pictures of it the next day, and that road was a river.
Yeah, and see, like where I'm at in Florida, when it rains really hard, it's like, yeah, it can, flood and stuff, but there's a lot of dirt and clay for it to saturate in. So after a few days, and even while it's happening, it takes a lot more for it to build up and become puddled. So like if I ever send you guys pictures of my backyard, it is like puddled up. It is fucking raining hard here.
Yeah, we just had our basement waterproofed because the last big storm that we had, just ankle deep water in my basement, to the point where like I had to throw a bunch of stuff out. Like I had a life-sized Homer Simpson that I've had for 20 years that like talked and stuff and moved and danced. I had to toss them.
Breaks my fucking heart, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think that breaks your heart? I don't know if either of you do you watch LGR on YouTube, Lazy Game Reviews?
Oh man, I saw this on Twitter, dude.
Yeah, he lives in Asheville, and his recording studio where he keeps all of his collection is in the basement. He's got had a massive collection of big bucks old PC games.
Oh no.
Massive tree just cut his house in two right above his recording studio. He said instantly it started just pouring water straight in there. They still haven't even got any crews out there, at least as of a couple of days ago, to start cleaning up the roads leading up to his house. Thank God, him and his wife, they got out safe. They're okay. But yeah, it probably destroyed everything he's got.
This is, and obviously, like they didn't have time to prepare up there. Like evacuation notices, I think were really just like quickly, like, hey, you guys need to get out now if you can, like that kind of thing. It's like it's one of those things where it's like when they tell you you should evacuate, don't be one of those people. It's
Get
like,
the
no, I'm gonna
fuck
sit here
out.
and watch it. No, just get out, just for your own safety. Because what if he had been like not maybe chilling right where that tree came down? Like then he'd have been toast. You know what I'm saying? Like so, there's just so many things that could happen. And I read these. The fact that there are still places out there in western North Carolina. I think eastern Tennessee. That's right there on the other side of North Carolina, right there. Is it eastern?
Yeah,
Like
that's the border right there.
little places up in there that they don't have power. They barely have service. They barely have houses. And they're just waiting for someone to come and help them because like there's nothing that they can do. Like reading stories about people just having to like watch their neighbors get taken away in the river and just because they've drowned and things. Oh dude, it's fucking terrible. I just, man, my thoughts and good vibes go out to everyone affected because it's just been fucking awful to read.
And like they still don't have like really concrete times for some of these people. Like way up in the sticks, they're saying some reports that it could be a month or two before some of these people are getting power back. They're really rough off up there.
I have been just,
and I was just going to say like I know that they just issued an order to reverse it, but shutting down the ports on the East Coast, I'm sure y'all have heard about that, has made like already you can't find anything. They're putting out the emergency broadcast shit that supplies gas, clean water, and all that non-existent up here right now. Like I was at Sam's Club yesterday doing a normal, like regular grocery run that we do every month. Nothing in there. You ever seen rows of empty pallets at a Sam's Club?
oh, that's intense.
Yeah, they've cleaned them out of water, cleaned them out of bread, just all the basic staples. And they're grabbing and they're taking it up to these places that have nothing, that they don't have running water yet. And they've emptied out my county of like diapers and formula, ferrying it up to the people affected by it.
Dude, I tell you, that was a problem here too. Like when there were the big storms coming, or even during like COVID and there were the shutdowns and things like that. There were people on Facebook begging for someone to just sell them one can of formula so they had something to feed their kid with. because everyone would go into the store and buy like 10 cans of it. I don't know how they could fucking afford to do that, but it's fucking wild. But to move on to
those people are not buying it because they have kids.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I've seen posts of people being like, "Oh yeah, we found somebody up here that's selling water bottles for like, $12 a piece and things like that." I'm like, "Oh, you should report them if you have a chance, because that's price gouging, and that is illegal as shit,
Yeah.
especially during times of disaster. That is a big no-no." I remember that one dude who bought like the garage full of hand sanitizer during COVID.
Oh, they were going to bend him over a barrel.
Oh,
Yeah.
He had to give all that shit away.
yeah, he was about to get
That was the only thing that kept him out of jail.
Toilet
about to
paper
get
too.
fucked in the butt.
People try to do it with toilet paper.
There's in fact, I think it's one of the TTRPGs I have that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes is about getting toilet paper during that, and like that's your main goal of the setting is to successfully go get some toilet paper during the fucking wild shit. Yeah, it's just fucking wild, man. So what you boys been up to, Mikhailov? What you been up to?
I mean, how do I follow all of that up with I've just been playing video games?
We're gonna try to talk about some happier things now. I didn't even mean for that to be like a opening 15 monologue of depressing things, but it was just I felt like it needed to be mentioned.
It was the elephant in the room.
Yeah, that's fair. So, well, all right. If you want me to talk about some happier stuff, I still have the needle in my arm that is called Final Fantasy XIV. And it's very weird for me because I have never played this game to the point where like I'm at the end of an expansion and I'm legit just waiting for content to drop, but I'm just doing stuff. Like right now I'm just trying to get my crafters up to 100. And I'm also trying to get a 7 million gil mount that I don't have nearly enough money for. So hence why I'm leveling the crafters. But I've also been dabbling in some other smaller games. In addition to Kakarot, which I know we're going to talk about later, I have been playing Breath of the Wild again.
Oh, okay.
And I've been playing it on my Steam Deck with a 60 frames per second mod and a durability mod that makes my weapons not break.
Yes, that's the only way to play now that I know that's an option.
And let me tell you, that is a completely different game with just those two parts.
My biggest issue with those newer Zelda games is that I find a weapon that I like, I use it 50 times and it smashes and I can't use it anymore. I have to go find another one. And I'm like, that's dumb.
When Tears of the Kingdom comes around, when I finally get to like finish that game, I'm probably still going to play that one on Switch because I feel like that game is more amenable to the durability mechanic because part of the whole thing is like Ganon rots all the weapons. So I feel like it makes more sense there than it does in Breath of the Wild, believe it or not. Breath of the Wild, they give you rare weapons and then they break and then you have to go gather mats and talk to somebody and they're like, well, you broke that weapon again, didn't you? Here's another one.
Speaking of Zelda games, Eric from Factory Sealed, I saw him posting about what's the new one where you play as Zelda?
Echoes of Wisdom, and that was the next game I was going to talk about.
Yeah, he said that he's playing that, but he said that he's playing it and he doesn't know if he's enjoying it or just playing it to play it.
No, it is fun. I actually am quite enjoying that game. It's different, and I kind of like the different.
Is it more the old school Zelda style?
It is, but they combine some of the things they learned from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So you could still game break. Like, you could still solve puzzles in a way that you were completely not intended to solve, just by abusing the echoes or whatever. Right now, it's a little weird. I think it changes the further you get into the game, but right now, it just feels like I'm kind of playing a weird version of Pokemon. Because in order for me to actually survive in the world, I have to summon echoes of monsters that I've already defeated. And so it just kind of feels like I'm just summoning things to attack other things. And it's a little interesting. But there was a part in that game where I legit had to fight a boss by just like summoning pots, picking them up and throwing them at him.
It's interesting.
It's very different. It's very, very different, but
that makes me
think
of
here for it.
Like a Nintendo 64 collectathon boss.
Something like that.
Where it's just got like a little weird mechanic that you have to use.
It's
like
almost
throw
like
toilet
that
paper in its mouth.
It's almost like that museum mod in Skyrim that you like so much, but it's Zelda. Because you're literally collecting, like, furniture and stuff, and you're using that to solve puzzles.
Word, speaking of, well, I'll talk about that when it comes up to my turn.
Oh, take your turn. How you in? What are you up to?
No, it's guests first. Dane, what you been up to, man?
Nah, man, I'm a turkey. Baste me. Come on.
All right, well, so Novus is what it's called, right?
Yes, you're playing Novus.
So I did. I went through and installed that. It was a new installing experience for me because it's not through Wabbajack. It's its own native installer.
Yeah.
And then I had to do something that I never had to do before, or at least I don't think I've ever had to do before, which was in order to make this thing run smoothly, the instructions tell you to go in and make your page file system bigger. So my page file system, I think, was 8 gigs is what it was allotted to, just standard right out of the gate, right? It is now 40 gigs. And that is like the amount of space that it has to like run things in the background. I don't really know what the fuck it's for, but it was basically like, if you want to play this mod pack and it not crash, do this. Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
How much RAM have you got in your system?
How much memory?
Yeah.
Now, do you mean RAM or like storage memory?
Yeah, like actual physical RAM.
I think 64.
And it's still requiring another 40 gigs of page file. That's a lot.
Novus is intense.
It wouldn't, this computer that I'm recording on with you guys right now would shit itself trying to run this mod collection, but it's like it uses post-processing, so like reshade and things like that to add ray tracing and god rays and all kinds of different things. I will say, and this is a problem I have with a lot of reshades, people who like to play Skyrim with reshades for some reason like darkness to be fucking Vanta Black. Now, I understand that they have a mod that I do take advantage of called Simple Light, where you can hold a button and I have it set to a little magical mage light that comes up above my head and it brightens up things around you. But still, like if you try to look off in the distance, it's like real life. It's like you cannot see in the dark, right? It's fucked up. So that's one of the little complaints I have. But this mod pack has a whole kinds of shit, and I turned on the not safe for work thing, so I've got boobs with jiggle mechanics and winches that I can put into different outfits and they look sexy. It's fantastic. And it's got Legacy of the Dragonborn, so I can do my museum. I'm up to, I think 900 and something pieces that I've found.
How's the
Now,
battle?
do you have equal opportunity nudity? Are there wieners?
Oh yeah. Big old honking uncut
Okay.
wieners. Yeah. I've always been like, I swear to God, when I first, before I even discovered mod packs and anything like that, when I was first starting to mod Skyrim, I said, if I'm going to have naked women, I'm going to have naked dudes too, because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to see dicks. I just want to see titties. It's like that Ron White joke where he's like, let me ask you something. He's like, you watch porn? Yeah. Well, when you watch porn, do you watch just female on female? No, I'll watch a man and a woman make love. Well, do you like them to have a small, flaccid penis? No, I like them to have a big, hard, raging cock. I did not know that about myself. It's like, yeah, dude, no, it's like, I wanted to be equal. So yeah, no, I got the dongs and the female bitty boos too. But like, it's not even really to me like where I'm like, oh, ooh, titties. To me, it's like, no, if I take all of their armor, then they just look like I took all of their armor, because now I can take their underwear too. But
How's the fighting?
Oh, okay. So that was the other big thing, is that it changes up the fighting a lot. In first person, it's still relatively the same, although your hits feel like they have a little more weight to them. But when you go into third person, now I can only speak for the setting in the mod installer that I chose, which was to give it an action JRPG flair. So I use a greatsword. So I will power attack with the greatsword, and he will swipe it, turn, swipe up like it's a samurai sword, and then he will backflip and then charge forward and do a swipe up from the ground straight up. It's like whoosh. And that's the 3-part power attack. And like there's just so many different attack modules that are going that are not in the base game that it's hilarious when you get different weapons and stuff. It's like I sliced someone across their stomach and split their stomach open and their guts fell out. So that was interesting. So there's just little things like that. It just made it more violent. The spells look really fucking good. Like, because
Can you turn down the gore?
Yes, in the installer you can turn down the gore and stuff.
Okay.
It was very like, it had a lot of options that you could choose from. Like you could even turn off, like, where it's, it is safe for work. Like you can play it that way too. I'm just a pervert, I guess.
Pervert who
He likes the sex with his violence.
Yeah. And I'm smoking a doobie during it, so sex, drugs, and violence. Yeah. Gotta love it.
Fair.
I am an American after all. Yeah. So I've been messing around with that. It's been a lot of fun. I have been on a PC game kick. It's like games that are like I can't imagine you could play them on console, although I'm sure you could. So like Age of Wonders 4. It's a 4X game. I think Civilization, but with magic and fantasy races and things like that.
Oh yeah.
It's great. I've been enjoying the shit out of it. I installed Anno 1800, which is wild for a city builder game. That game is 90 gigs.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah. Right. But really enjoying that so far. I think it gets super in depth and I'm just like scratching the surface of it. I have made it up to the point now where I quit last time. So I'm going to try to stick with it and get past this point so I can then see my city get bigger. Because right now I just have like a town. And it's like, no, you can make a fucking big sprawling metropolis in Anno. That's the whole point of it. So I wanna check it out. It's like SimCity on steroids.
Nice.
And then the other thing I wanted to touch on before we get into our topic of the week, and I'm sure there's other things that I can't remember, but that's why they call it Dope Kids Don't Smoke.
Sorry, double back to me when you're done, because there's something I forgot I had to bring up.
Will do. So
Okay.
I was installing. So I have a 5 terabyte hard drive in my PC. So that's the solid, not a solid state. It's just a regular hard drive. So like that's where I've been throwing my older games, stuff that I do not need on an SSD to run properly, right? So I'm installing all of my itch.io games that look interesting to me. And I was like, oh, what do they got on the store? What bundles they got? Because sometimes they have things for charity available. So I went on there and they did have one for charity available. And I want to go look up the name of it because I want to give it a plug because it's really cool. So it's a featured bundle from itch.io. The TTRPGs for Accessible Gaming Charity Bundle. And what they are doing is they are making D&D polyhedral dice sets with Braille so that
nice.
Blind people are able to affordably get dice that they can use and it be more accessible for people. Because if you think about it, a blind person could play D&D just as well as anybody else because a lot of that is the game of the mind. You would just need, I'm sure, you figure out the character sheet and stuff in Braille, but then to have the dice too, now they can be fully, into it like everybody else. And I think that's really cool. So I donated $10. I think it's a little over 300 tabletop RPGs. And I entered a contest to possibly win a set of Braille dice, which I think would be cool. And I would give those away.
Nice.
I would definitely give those away to somebody, who wanted them, who would need them more than me because I can't read Braille. So anyway, I now have no excuse to not run some tabletop RPGs in one way or another, be it another show or just do it on here like Tadpog style and just release them, maybe in between normal episodes or something. But there are so many of them that jumped out to me that were really cool. One of them I don't remember the name of right off the top of my head. Actually, I can go to the show chat and scroll up a little bit, and they're there because I was posting screenies of them. Mourn, a retro FPS style TTRPG, FPS style TTRPG inspired by Doom, Dusk, and Quake. So
Willie would love that one.
Willie was immediately like, "Will you please run that for me? Like, will you please run that for me?"
He'll have a blast. He's the Doom guy.
Yeah.
The one that if you can see the reacts in Discord that Dane really liked was Uncaging Nicholas, which is you and your squad of Nick Cages have been hired to uncage Nicolas Cage.
I have never been more erect than when I read that description.
So I'm like, okay, that would be great. Each of you play an archetype from one of his movies, and you have to go save the real one. Be great.
Nicolas Cage, uncaged.
Oh, man. And maybe I'll make it weird. Like, you just have to give his chastity thing off his dick. to uncage him that way.
I mean, it is a cage.
So
Call a locksmith.
This one was one that I was more like, okay, so this is where you start getting into the ones that are a little more different. Like Uncaging Nicolas Cage, that's a funny one. The other Doom one's going to be intense, lots of battles. This one's called Flip. Can you and your team renovate this nightmare house and sell it for profit? Bro, I used to do property preservation. Do you understand what my brain can come up with for a fucking house that you guys would have to clean and fix up to get to sell for profit? Like, believe me, like I could get I've seen some shit. It's like, oh, is that a blood stain? Oh yeah, dude, you see all those orange stains all over? Yeah, there was a shootout in here. This dude died, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's all blood.
I've seen some literal shit.
I have seen literal shit. Yeah, I have. I saw a toilet that we had to make some stuff up and pour in there that we stirred it with the toilet brush and pulled the toilet brush out and none of the bristles
and it was gone. That stuff is called clobber.
Yeah.
My dad bought that stuff once to unclog my garbage disposal because he was a plumbing and heating guy, and he could get that stuff. You had to be a licensed plumbing and heating guy in order to get access to that stuff. He had to open the window in my kitchen. He poured that stuff down the sink. Smoke came up.
Yeah.
And then he immediately went down to Home Depot to get another U-bend because he melted it.
Damn.
That does not surprise me, dude. That does not surprise me at all.
Dude, I know exactly the shit you're talking about. We're talking skull and crossbones, like right on the front label.
Yeah, I really think that you could probably not kill somebody, but you could melt the body with it if you needed to. Like, it's that powerful. And
it has got to be some form of like acid.
It's one of those things.
So this is the shit that Heisenberg was using on fucking Breaking Bad.
Pretty much, because we had to wear masks when we were working with it, and even then, I used to tell Wes, I'm like, bro, I bet we're going to have some kind of weird cancer from this shit in like 30 years. Bet.
My dad did not tell me to put a mask on. He did not put a mask on. He just poured that shit down the drain.
We used to use that shit. We used Roundup. There was all kinds of shit that we used that I'm probably going to end up having cancer. But it is what it is. But yeah, so Flip is one. So then there's this one. There's a lot of these that are called solo journaling games. I don't know what that is. I looked it up. I guess it's kind of like you write out stuff, and that's kind of what the game is. I don't really understand, but
it's like creative writing prompts. I've got a bunch of games like that.
Okay. So this one's called Cocaine Bear Grandma.
Oh shit.
I'm in.
A solo journaling RPG about missing bees and cocaine. And immediately I'm like, okay, I need to read that and figure out how I could make that into a multi-person game, because that's just tremendous. Other ones that stood out, and I'm trying not to harp on this too long, but there are a lot of these that I really want to try. Totally Real Human Adults, overcoded and underhanded. I haven't even clicked on it to see what it is. I'm just sold. There's one where you play 3 kids in a trench coat trying to make it pretend to be a real human.
Okay, that's
adult.
Great. I will totally play that.
The Blood, a game about spellcasting vampires fueled by arcane forces. Yeah, here it is. 3 kids in a trench coat. Stuck in detention. It's time to devise a foolproof plan to get out of it. 3 kids at a time.
Now, did you wind up with a copy of 1,000-Year Vampire?
Can I search? I can search. Hold on, let me see. No. I typed that in and it brought up The Stumbling Undead, one-shot RPG.
All right, if you're interested at all in the journaling stuff, I've messed with that a little bit. It's really interesting. The whole premise is you're playing a vampire and you're keeping a journal of all of your vampiric antics. And the primary game mechanic is picking which memories, because living so long, he's not going to remember everything. So you're actually taking things that you've written into this vampire storyline and physically destroying them in the real world to remove them from the game. So it's a really fun, like, creative writing exercise. I think the dude's actually done a sequel game to it at this point, but I've not messed with that one.
I will look into that. I don't think I didn't get it in this collection, but that does sound up my alley. So what was it, 1,000-Year Vampire? Yeah,
1,000-Year Vampire. I think the dude that wrote the book, he might still be giving away free copies. Like, there's so many community copies that you can get for free, so you can get it legit without having to try and sell the 7 Cs and get it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
but if that ain't available, I can get you a copy of it, man.
Fair enough. We got The Dungeon of Fitty Fitty. Shift your fate with a flip of a coin. The Dungeon of Fitty Fitty calls for you. There's Epic Radical Delivery Wizards. As delivery wizards, your mission is unequivocal. Deliver the packages at all costs. I kick in the airlock door. Fortune favors the surreal. There was one other one I'm scrolling through trying to find, because it was just like, what? There's What the Fuck, I'm a Skeleton. Rainbow Mutant Slimes. Brander Biggle's Box of Baubles, which is a collection of 50 unique magic items for D&D 5th edition.
So the funny thing is if I ever were a moving, living, breathing skeleton, those were the exact words that I would use.
What the fuck, I'm a skeleton? Yes. It sounds like it would be.
How would you talk? You would communicate telepathically.
God damn it, Dan. So there's a fire
and
emblem.
There it is.
Willie ain't here, someone has to make dad jokes.
Yeah, I just haven't come up with them yet. I need to tap into the database.
Oh my god.
Nice.
So there's a fire emblem one, and then there's one called Iron Dimensions, and it says for the Persona fans.
Okay, fair.
And then there's a bunch of horror ones too. And that sounds cool to me. Oh, here it is. Hell and Death and an American Guitar. Fight your way out of hell with your trusty guitar.
Oh, so it's Brutal Legend, except it's actually good.
Well, you're making assumptions, but being tabletop, you can make it good.
There's also Pizza Imp Pasta, where you guys are imps that have opened up a pizzeria, so you deliver pizza as impish entrepreneurs. Yeah,
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, right. There was one I think that's based on Lucha Libre. There's just a bunch. I know I'm rambling on, and listeners are probably like, "Okay, we fucking get it. You have a lot of games," but we're gonna end up playing some of these, and you guys are gonna get to listen to it, and it should be quite fun. Hopefully,
Entertaining.
Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Seed Words, a 1-page RPG, reading books to harvest their words to find new stories to grow from them. Love and Monsters, a Doctor Who themed hack of lasers and feelings, whatever that is.
I don't know. Sounds like shouldn't blink.
There's a lot of these that are like hacks of other base systems, and then there's some that just are a system for you to use and build a game out of. Dinosaurs and Man, surviving in a modern world full of dinosaurs. Here it is. I got bonked on the head, and when I woke up, my friends and I were forced to draw something together. Drawfee inspired RPG.
Why does this sound like half of the anime that you watch?
That's exactly why I remember that one. Hot Dog Princess. You have 2 stats, hot and dog. No idea what that could be, but yeah. Anyways, so that's up on the that's in the pipeline for things coming. Is me probably making another one of those fucking lists with the spinny wheel thing and figuring out which TTRPG, or just figure out what I want to do and then get somebody together. Like we could play a game of Timescape, a cyborg adventure, kill Ronald Reagan before the time traveling cyborg assassin gets to you first.
Why do we have to kill Ronald Reagan?
That's a good question, sir.
Would you shoot him with ray guns?
While wearing Ray-Cons and a pair of Ray-Bans. While listening to Ray Charles.
We killed Mikhailov.
I'll beat your ass, Charles. I'll beat your ass with Charles. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. I don't need a condom. My suit's so tight. So, we played a game.
Yeah, we did play a game.
Oh, wait, I didn't get my rant.
Oh, you did get your rant, and actually, really quick.
Oh, yeah.
I've been on a Power Rangers kick.
Oh, are you ready for that game that's coming
There's
out?
worse kicks to be on.
I have been watching old Power Rangers episodes, but I also bought Battle for the Grid, and I've been playing through the story mode.
Oh, the fighting game? It's actually not bad.
Yeah. No, it's not bad at all, and I really like the story.
Are you particularly hyped for the new Power Rangers game that's coming out that's like Shredder's Revenge?
I can't wait for Rita's Rewind.
Yeah, dude, that game looks badass.
It really does. I'm super hyped for that. Sorry, but anyway, I felt like I had to get that out. I'm just on this weird-ass Power Rangers kick lately, and I don't know what's wrong with me.
Let me tell you, last time I was on a Power Rangers kick, I went and learned how to play that opening guitar solo. So, like, I'll have to do a video of me playing that for you sometime.
Please let me see that.
Yeah, it's super cool. Just a lot of tapping.
Yeah, I'm sure. But just, oh man, that's got to be a lot of fun to play. Just like that beginning, like,
oh, yeah.
That's got to be just a blast to belt out.
And I remember going back to Power Rangers and watching it as an adult was the first time that I realized the weird editing in that show between Power Rangers and Super Sentai. So, like,
yeah.
I didn't remember Rita Rapunzel's mouth not matching any fucking word that came out of it.
Did you just say Rita Rapunzel?
I did. What is it?
Rita Repulsa.
Oh, Rita Repulsa. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Damn, I missed it.
Except they changed actors like somewhere midway through season 2. Like, and Rita ends up marrying Lord Zed. And they end up actually reshooting footage just for the American show, and her lips actually do move properly.
I just remember
because it's a completely different
World's
actress.
weirdest continuity error.
Yeah, no, it's they had to reshoot. They had to actually shoot American footage of the Thunder Megazord fighting the Tiger Zord because the two Zords never meet in the original Super Sentai.
So that was like a American only thing, and they had to do it.
They had to like literally reshoot. They had to shoot that whole scene just for that part of Power Rangers. I don't even remember what the context was. I think like that was like way back, like when Rita's brother shows up or something. Like they somehow managed to take over the Tiger Zord.
I don't remember. Yeah. I know I had two movies. I had two movies growing up that I watched all the time. One was the one with Ivan Ooze, and he was out there selling lean to kids before it was cool.
Yep. And that was all
American, right?
Like American footage.
Yeah.
Like that was actually pretty good movie for the time, but it's actually really campy. The whole show is campy.
I was gonna say that's Power Rangers thing is camp.
Yeah.
That's like Speed Racer. over there
Oh,
on
yeah.
Dane and Jess Media Dome.
Yeah.
That is a campy show.
Dude, and I watched, and again, just to show me going down this freaking rabbit hole, I watched a whole like hour-long YouTube video about how there was this massive like 100 Super Sentai Ranger battle that was like epic in Japan, and how in Power Rangers Super Mega Force they teased that battle. People flipped out about the fact that it was going to be in there, and they destroyed it.
Oh,
Sounds right.
They like butchered the hell out of it.
of course.
So
hold on,
again,
the
which
other-
made me have to go watch that episode just to see how badly they butchered it. Yeah, they did pretty bad.
I had another movie. I feel like they were. All I remember is there was like a temple in a jungle, and I think it was when they got their dinosaur forms.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. I remember it was a new cast.
Yeah. It probably was like, well, it was like Dino Fury or I don't even freaking know. There's just
I don't
so
know.
many
It was
of them.
way back. It was
And,
still in
and
the early
every
2009s.
every iteration is just worse than the last.
I fell off sometime around Power Rangers Turbo. When they went
That's-
cars, that was when I said, screw this, I'm done.
That's exactly when I fell off. When Billy left. When Billy left the show, which was like part in season 1 of Turbo, I was just like, I'm done with this.
Which the behind the scenes stuff with Billy was just total bullshit. Have you ever looked into that?
Oh yeah, where they were really
he
mean
was
to him.
heavily bullied.
Yeah,
Which-
they just give him total shit constantly
Yeah.
because the actor is gay.
Yeah. So I am completely surprised that he came back for Once and Always.
Yeah, I mean,
I was really surprised to see him too, but I had a lot of fun with that, and even my kid, who's like, she was 6 when we watched it, that sent me on a small Power Rangers kick,
Yeah.
and we were watching the old show together. She fell off super quick. She lost interest. I guess she's just not as big a fan of Tommy as me.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Every time I watch old Power Ranger shows, I see JDF and I'm just like, I can't believe he's dead.
her and Trina.
Yeah, but at least she like died in a tragic car accident, and I know that's not any better, but like that was something outside of her control. Like JDF took
Yeah,
his own
fair.
life. Like he really didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I didn't actually find out about that until that Amazon special came out. That was when
Yeah.
I found out about it. I'd somehow totally missed the news about it, and it broke my damn heart.
Yeah, no, he took his own life. It was sad. Like depression sucks.
That it does. That it does.
So
Dang.
again, I made it dark, and I just made this podcast way longer than it needed to be. So I
Hey,
apologize.
Jeff's gonna be happy. We got to
Okay.
keep the.
Don't worry, I'm going to drag conspiracy into it next.
Oh no, here we go.
I was gonna say you said you had a rant.
Yeah, I've got a mini rant. So, did you guys actually pay attention to the new Steam Terms of Service update?
No,
I accepted
I know it's popped up.
it did pop up.
Odds are you probably just accepted it, didn't read it. I actually read it.
Oh no, what did I agree to?
You have to put your butthole in front of a webcam every so often.
I do that anyways.
Okay, well, you're good.
Okay.
No, what the actual update was, and it really grabbed my attention because of other things that I've been noticing. So I've noticed a bunch of different services updating their user agreements to include if you have a quarrel with the company, you have to settle through arbitration.
Oh,
now, do
yeah,
y'all know
yeah,
what
yeah.
that means?
I saw something about that. I was reading into it, but I kind of glossed over it. To be honest,
It means you can't sue. You have to like settle out of
right?
court.
Yeah, when you sue, it doesn't go through court. The company gets to pick a specialist to preside over proceedings, so they have home court advantage, and your suit goes through, out of court. Steam updated their stuff to explicitly state if you have any issues with Steam, it must be settled in court, not arbitration. It will never go through arbitration. Very, very explicit. And I thought, that's really weird. Why would Steam take such a hard stance against arbitration when that favors the company? Have you heard about the shit that Disney pulled?
Oh, about the woman that died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been paying attention to the news, I'm not an expert. I don't have it in front of me, but from what I remember, there was this couple who went to, I believe it was one of the Disney parks, and they went to eat at a restaurant that was known for accommodating food allergies. And this lady, she couldn't have, I believe it was nuts and shellfish, and she was asking a lot of questions like, yeah, we can do that, no problem. You'll be perfectly fine. Ordered the food, ate the food. Shortly thereafter, she went into anaphylactic shock. She died at the hospital. from elevated levels of nuts and shellfish in her system. So the husband filed a wrongful death lawsuit. It's only the reasonable thing to do. They said, hey, we will accommodate your allergies, and they didn't. And Disney lawyers clawed through this guy's background and found that 4 years ago he had signed up for a free trial of Disney Plus and agreed in the end-user license agreement that in the event that any problem with Disney as a corporation, he would have to settle it through arbitration and not be able to go through a court of law. He canceled before he ever paid them $1. His wife did not sign up for this. He signed up for it. And Disney tried to say, you said no matter what, it has to go through arbitration. You can't sue us.
Yeah.
Which means Disney can do a genocide and you have to settle in arbitration when you take it to its, illogical extreme.
Yeah.
And what was the outcome?
It hit the news and
It hit the internet
Disney
too.
actually
It hit the internet
people
with
lost their shit.
with a fucking force. People were like, what the actual fuck, Disney?
But Disney did back down, so it has not been set as a standing legal precedent. But they're like, well, we see that this is a very sensitive subject, and given the grave nature of the, yada, 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 legal mumbo-jumbo, that they act like they care, but they don't give a shit. So they did back down on that. It is going to go to court, but...
And even before they tried to pull the arbitration thing, they tried to say that it wasn't their liability because they don't own the restaurant. They're like, we just leased that spot out to a restaurant to have restaurant on our property, but we don't own that restaurant. And they were like, is it in your fucking park? Is it part of your shit? It's your fucking problem. You can't just say it's not our problem. And that's when they pulled the arbitration business, and that's when the internet collectively lost their shit, and news ran with it, and yeah.
But it's gonna go to court. They didn't even agree to settle or provide damages. They just said, "Oh, okay, we're not gonna play that angle. We're gonna let it be decided in court."
Yeah, they could have easily...
They will probably try and settle out of court instead of letting it go, but as of right now, I think the current state is that it's heading to court.
Wow. And shellfish allergies are not to be messed with.
Neither are peanut
people
allergies.
people who have those, they need EpiPens on them at all times.
It's gotten to the point in my life where I'm starting to put Disney in that category with things like J.K. Rowling and stuff, where it's like, I appreciate the entertainment under the umbrella of Disney, but Disney themselves can fuck off. It's kind of like how I enjoy Harry Potter, but J.K. Rowling can suck a bag of dicks. So yeah, that's wild, dude. And it wouldn't surprise me. So anyway, your rant was to bring it back. Steam.
My working theory is Steam said that specifically in response to the bullshit Disney was pulling, because Steam has a history of taking hardline stances that will not benefit them in the long run, just because, whether you want to say it's because they think it's the right thing to do or they want the good optics. I mean, it's like the other good thing that Steam's doing right now with the Steam Deck. It's based on Arch Linux. They have hired a bunch of programmers to do nothing but contribute to the Arch Linux project, which is a free, completely open source thing. I'll mention it again. I use Arch Linux. That is my OS that I use every day, and I actually swapped to it because Steam was using it as the basis for the Steam Deck. I'm like, well, that means it's probably good for gaming, so we'll work with that.
Does it still use the same Proton compatibility layer if you need to run Windows apps?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've actually got the Steam Proton compatibility for my Epic Steam library, for my GOG, and for my itch.io stuff.
And this is not on a Steam Deck. This is on your actual PC.
Yep, on my desktop.
Nice. You using Hollow ISO?
Do what now?
Are you using Hollow ISO, or are you using a different Arch Linux distro?
No, I'm just using base Arch Linux, and I've installed the packages. For my gaming, I use Lutris for stuff like itch, and I use Heroic Games Launcher for Epic and GOG and Amazon games.
Yep, you're doing all the things.
Chinese.
I can talk Linux nerd shit for years.
I mean, my only experience with Linux is the Steam Deck, but I've taken to really appreciate it over Windows on most everything. I actually, sitting in front of me right now is the latest ROG Ally, and I just recently did a dual boot where I put Bazite, which is a Fedora-based distro.
Yeah.
But it still runs like SteamOS gaming mode. It still has the same Proton compatibility layer. And if the ROG Ally does not run better on that than freaking Windows, I don't know what does, because it's beautiful.
Well, Linux has a lot less overhead and
Mhm.
bullshit than Windows has.
Oh yeah, so I'm getting
And-
better battery life. I'm getting better performance out of the games, even despite having to go through that compatibility layer. It's beautiful, and the ROG Ally X is like an 80 watt-hour battery, so I'm freaking getting like 5 hours of Final Fantasy. Well, 5 hours might be too much, but I'm getting like 3 to 4 hours of Final Fantasy 14, like at 120 hertz refresh rate at 1080p,
That's impressive.
like on a handheld. Like, yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, a lot of people still try and bash Linux just on a knee jerk from the gaming perspective, but Proton totally changed the game on all that.
Literally.
I know that back when Steam did the big first Steam OS push, when I think it was based on Debian,
Mm-hmm.
I ran that for a little bit just to play with it on a dual boot where I still had Windows as a backup. And they had a bunch of games that they did a big push for the developers to make native Linux ports. And a lot of those still exist. That's why you got to be real careful when you install on Linux, because some things like Binding of Isaac Rebirth,
Yeah.
when you install it, even if you have all of the compatibility stuff installed, like for Proton and all that, by default it will install the Linux version, which is perfectly fine, totally serviceable. It's up to date through everything except the last DLC. So if you have the Repentance DLC for Binding of Isaac Rebirth, you have to go in and manually set that one to install the Windows version instead of the Linux version.
Got it.
There's a couple of little catch-22s like that. Not a whole lot. That's one that really jumped out at me that I had to make sure that I always set the right thing.
Dane, we have to talk off air because I have to call your attention to some of these little things. This is an Amernic handheld.
You got the flip.
I got
So-
the SP, yeah.
Dane's got
Oh,
the one.
man.
Dane's got the same one that you sent me.
The Pow Kitty one?
No. You sent that to Willie.
The,
You sent
Oh,
it to RG.
the
Ambernick.
35XX.
the 35XX. Yeah, this is the SP actually, and I have I don't want to go digging for it, but Ambernick sent me the 40XXH and the 40XXV.
God damn, son.
Man.
I won somewhere. Like Ambernick just sends me stuff now.
That's what's up.
So
I'm totally jealous.
So have you tried running Portmaster on the 35XX?
I've not messed with Portmaster. I stopped customizing it whenever I put Garlic OS on there.
Gotcha. Okay.
I didn't
So-
really like the base one that they shipped with.
No,
but
and it's pretty much garbage. I'm actually running a different one called MooOS, and that has
I haven't messed with
built-in that one has built-in Portmaster support.
Okay.
No,
And
Willie.
so Portmaster is a distro that will download everything you need to run native Linux versions of PC games, as long as you are able to source the files from your legal Steam purchases. So Shovel Knight, Half-Life, I played Half-Life on a Powkitty device through Portmaster. Shredder's Revenge, and like AM2R, another Metroid 2 remake. Like there's just a whole freaking like long ass list of just these ports that are basically just the Linux versions of PC apps, and you could play them on this fucking thing.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I know what I'm going to be doing this weekend.
It's I'll send you the link in the TSMP Discord. It's MooOS. Beautiful distro.
Because I got a whole stack of 128 gig micro SD cards. I
Yeah.
can just hot swap that shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, MooOS is that's a pretty solid one. Dalton, you might be interested too because you have the 35XX as well.
Yeah. Maybe I'll make us a little group chat. We could talk about it.
That sounds like a great idea. Another groupie chat.
Groupie
We
chat.
should probably talk about Dragon Ball.
Yeah, gentlemen. Let's talk about some. Well, first off is the obligatory Wikipedia bullshit. We got the O-dubs up here. We got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And if you'll notice, I wore the attire appropriate shirt for this. Is an action role-playing video game developed by CyberConnect 2 and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment based on the Dragon Ball franchise. If CyberConnect 2 sounds familiar to you, they are behind the Dot Hack series. It was released for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows in January of 2020. Nintendo Switch in September of 2021. Stadia, remember Stadia? In October of 2021. PlayStation 5 in January of 2023, and Xbox Series X and S in February of 2023. The game follows main protagonist Goku and the Z Fighters through the events of the Dragon Ball Z anime, including anime original storylines and moments. The game received generally mixed reviews upon release and has sold over 8 million copies worldwide. So, boys, first thoughts. Let's do this in 2 parts. Let's give us your first thoughts on the video game and give us your first introduction to Dragon Ball Z. Okay, so let's start. Beep doop boop doop beep doop boop doop beep doop boop doop beep boop boop boop. Mikhailov.
Had a feeling it was going to be me. I don't know why. I just like in my gut, I'm like, he's going to say Mikhailov.
Your headphones have the yellow stripe. What can I say?
They're Zelda headphones. I think I might have said that in the podcast before.
No. Yellow stripe. It's a legit judgment.
Oh, well, it's a good judgment, I hope. All right. First impressions. All right, so Dragon Ball. I have to kind of take you back to around 2002, 2003, where I was this nerdy little college guy living on campus, not really making friends. I had an odd MMO addiction to a game called Ragnarok Online that, I would rather be playing that than, doing all the things you're supposed to be doing in college, including learning. And at the same time, I was making weird, poorly drawn webcomics with one Willie, who I've known that man for 20 years at this point, and I've never met him in person.
Well, damn.
As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure the first time I ever talked to Willie was on AOL Instant Messenger.
You've got mail.
If you want to go that far back. But I would stay up late because I was, a young 20-something college boy. And I would stick around for the moment where right before Cartoon Network, in between when Cartoon Network would become Adult Swim. And so Cartoon Network had this in between where before it transitioned to Adult Swim, where you kind of had all your like Family Guys and American Dads and stuff like that. And they had this middle section that was probably around like 8-9 o'clock called Toonami.
Yeah.
And Toonami played anime. And the part that would hook me every single night was the 1-hour block of Dragon Ball Z. And it was there that I got the Namek Saga and I got the Buu Saga. Now, for some reason, Toonami would always do the Namek Saga, skip the Cell Saga, go to the Buu Saga, get to a certain point in the Buu Saga, and then revert right back to the Namek Saga.
Did they ever show the Saiyan Saga?
They never showed the Saiyan Saga. So I only got the Saiyan Saga through a Game Boy Color game, which was very much like Kakarot in the sense that it... What's that?
Was it like Adventures of Goku or something like that?
Yeah, it was something like that. Or Goku something, yeah.
This video I have up right here that I was watching earlier was talking about how Kakarot, the closest thing you can come to Kakarot back in the day, and they named like a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance game, and I bet it's the same one you're talking about.
I think it's exactly that one, and it was a top-down Zelda-style Goku. Like, you didn't fly or anything. Well, you might have flown. It's been forever since I played it. But it was literally like, you just... Imagine fighting Zelda bosses, but it's Vegeta. Like, it was weird. But that's how I met Raditz for the first time. That's how I saw the first fight with Vegeta. Like, I never actually saw that in the anime itself, but I was always enthralled with the character of Vegeta, and I loved Frieza as a bad guy. Not so much Buu. And it kind of got to a point where, like, I got sick and tired of waiting to see how the Buu Saga ended. I ended up downloading the rest of the episodes through Napster or Kazaa or whatever we had back then.
Fucking Kazaa, wow.
I know, jeez. I think it was like Kazaa plus. I don't even remember. It's... God, it's been so long. I just remember it got me... It was the first time I sailed the 7 seas. And so that's my first experience with Dragon Ball. Now, the game. I wish I had listened to you, Dalton, within the first 2 weeks we were playing this game.
It's a recurring theme with this show. Not with you in general, but with anybody.
You told me just Golden Path. And for some reason, I felt like I needed to explore. And there really, at the beginning of the game, there's not much to explore. Like, you kind of have to follow the story because the Saiyan Saga is actually the game's tutorial. except it doesn't tell you that it's the game's tutorial. Like, you're supposed to golden path that. So I got frustrated very early on by all the nothing that was getting done. Like, I was looking around for side quests. Like, there was, like, this one part where this girl was like, I can't believe I drove my car off a cliff, but you can't interact with her. All she says is, I can't believe I drove my car off a cliff. And then you go down to the cliff, you're Piccolo at that point, and you see the car. The only purpose of the car is to get some, like, orbs and some treasure and stuff that's, like, around the area. I was trying to lift the car. I was trying to key blast the car. Like, I was trying to do all this stuff. To try and finish that side quest that wasn't there. And I just got so frustrated that I put the game down for 2 weeks. And then I picked it back up because I'm like, it's getting close to podcast time. Dalton told me just golden path it. I golden path it. I get through the Saiyan saga. Game opens up and completely different experience, which I'll get to later in the episode. But that was my long drawn out story.
Yeah. So, Dane, what about you, bud?
Okay, I'll follow the same pattern that he did. First interaction with Dragon Ball Z, it was either late in my 6th grade or early in my 7th. This is probably 98, 99. Channel surfing on
Can't believe
satellite.
you were 7 in 99. I was a senior in high school.
No, I would have been 7th grade in 99.
Oh, 7th grade. Sorry. My bad.
I was 7 in 99.
So,
Youngins.
Yeah, I'm kind of the in-between age-wise here. And I was in middle school. Channel surfing, I want to say it was a Saturday, and I just stumbled on Cartoon Network, and they were showing, it was still the Ocean dub for Dragon Ball Z. And it was somewhere in the, when they're at Namek, but Goku is still on the spaceship traveling there. And I think Gohan and Krillin were fighting Raccoon. I had no context on the show. I didn't know. I'm not even sure that I knew the anime was from Japan at this point. I'm just watching this like, this is really weird. What is going on? You've got, it's a style of animation I'm not familiar with. These guys are shooting steroid beams at one another and yelling things that clearly aren't English. I'm like, this has a Japanese kind of feel to it. Masenko sounds Japanese-y. What the hell's going on here? And through that, I started watching Cartoon Network more often because I'd always been a Nickelodeon kid, and found Toonami and started watching the Ocean dub. And I got really used to their style. And then that, I think it was 99, was when the Funimation dub started coming out, where they picked up where the Ocean dub stopped. So you have all the voices that we all have come to know and love in the American dub for DBZ. And I'm like, I don't like this new guy doing Goku's voice. Oh, I really don't like this new guy doing Vegeta's voice. Oh, what the hell is up with this guy doing Piccolo's voice?
Wasn't Vegeta's voice a lot higher pitched in the original dub?
Yeah, he was really, really screechy. And I know that, like, the iconic "it's over 9,000" line. I know in Japanese it was not 9,000 that he said, but the words matched the mouth movements in English better with 9,000. So when Funimation went back and redubbed the Saiyan Saga, they kept the 9,000 thing.
And that line doesn't show up in the game.
It's not in the game.
I was waiting for it, and it didn't show.
Yeah, I think he says, his power level is unbelievable.
Yeah. And really quick, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, Dane.
Oh, you're good.
Frieza also doesn't say, this isn't even my final form in the game.
This isn't even my final form.
And those are the two staple Dragon Ball Z quotes that make all the memes. Anyway, I apologize. Continue.
Oh, you're good. But I got into the Funimation dub, and just the fact that so much of the show has that voice, that's what I grew accustomed to, and I got used to it. And now I go back and I watch the Ocean dub, I'm like, ugh, what were they thinking? But I got really into Dragon Ball Z, and I guess my freshman year of high school, maybe my sophomore year, somewhere in there was where they had caught up. They had gone through the Buu saga, and we had hit the fusion port where Goku and Vegeta fused together, still lose, and then we're at a cliffhanger. And waiting for that next set of episodes to come out, I made my first nerd contact. An upperclassman gave me, I bought a stack of blank CDs and gave them to him and $15. And he came back after the weekend, and I had a complete set of the fan translation of Dragon Ball GT.
Nice.
So
Wow.
waiting on the rest of Z, now I've got GT. So I marathon all the way through GT. And if that's not going to make you question your belief in God, I don't know what else can. But by the
Sounds
time I
like,
was done with GT,
Watching a whole bunch of
I
Nicolas
just-
Cage movies.
oh man. But by the time I finished GT, they were finally starting to come out with new episodes to finish out DBZ the series. And I never watched that final little set. I know I've got the spoilers. I know how Goku beats Boo, and spoilers, he wins. And about the little epilogue episode with the new martial arts tournament. But that was kind of my experience with Z, was dropping into the middle with no context in the Namek saga, slowly working my way through, and then bailing on the last 24 episodes because I got so pissed off at GT. And as far as first impressions on the game, very quickly I realized I've spent way too much time in the lands between. Because if I had not been trying to play this game for this episode we are recording now, I would not have made it to the Raditz fight.
Wow.
Really?
And if I had, I would not have made it much past it, because when you look at a game called Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, silly me, I expected the game to focus in on you're playing as Goku. We're going to get a lot of Goku time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the bullshit with Gohan, the bullshit with Piccolo. Look, I love the things that they do with Gohan in the Cell games. But up until the Cell games, he was always insufferable to me, even watching the show back in the day. I understand the whole passing of the torch. He dropped the ball. We'll work our way up through it. But between just the slog of making myself play this game and a little thing called a natural disaster coming through and making me lose power for the 36 hours that was my dedicated let's marathon this bullshit time, I didn't actually complete the Saiyan saga playing this game.
Yeah. But that's
Because
fair
a
enough,
lot-
though,
yeah.
because, again, Hurricane.
Yeah, because Saturday was going to be my massive game day, and we didn't get power back until I was ready to go to sleep that night. So I lost my big, I have nothing to do. It's Saturday. I don't work on Saturday. We don't have church this Saturday because of a scheduling conflict. I can do nothing but play Dragon Ball Z all day. Oh, hey, what's that up in the sky? It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a flood. So
It's Hurricane Helms. Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through. Willie is laughing right now. He might be the only one. Maybe Nate. It's a wrestling joke.
But yeah, this game just committed all of my cardinal sins very, very quickly. And if it hadn't been for the show, I would have bailed way before I actually did. And I didn't make as far as I wanted to for the show because of the storms and shit.
Now, we had a discussion along these lines in DM beforehand, and I told you, like, if you have knowledge of the show, which I know you do, I was like, then you know everything that's going to happen in the game. So we can talk about like story bits and stuff. Because really, this game, well, I guess I should do my first impressions and then we can get into that. So much like you guys, I was a young boy. My father took me into the city to see a marching band, and when I got home that night, I had two friends particularly. There was Emmett and there was Dustin. You guys have heard me talk about Dustin, my resident Star Wars nerd buddy. Well, he's also my resident Dragon Ball Z nerd buddy. So he was always watching it when he was at my house. Oh man, Toonami's on. Hold on, he'd flip over and watch Dragon Ball Z. When I would go and hang out with Emmett, him and his brother would watch Toonami and Dragon Ball Z. It's also where I first saw Trinity Blood, which I feel like people do not talk about that anime enough. Vampires versus the Catholic Church. It's a wild show, right? It's also where I saw Bleach for the first time. But I fell out of Toonami before they started showing like Naruto and stuff like that. So when I was like introduced to Naruto, that was like years later when I had friends who were like super into that. But with Dragon Ball, I never would watch it by myself. I was more of a American animation comedy boy, Nickelodeon, Disney cartoons, and Cartoon Network during the day. But as I got older, I started to really like Adult Swim, Squidbillies, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Robot Chicken. So I wanted to watch that stuff. So I would watch Cartoon Network, then I would watch through Toonami. So I got my fair share of Dragon Ball. But I couldn't tell you that I saw like a cohesive whole series or season of Dragon Ball ever. Dragon Ball Z, excuse me, because there is a distinction. I guess I should call it by its full name. So the when I loaded up this game and started playing through it, I would remember little bits and pieces, specifically in the beginning with the Saiyan saga. I had seen that part before because I had been like, well, I'm going to watch Dragon Ball Z as an adult and put it on and watch some of it. But my opening thought boils all the way down to one moment that happens. And it's when Raditz lands and he gets out and he's like, whoa, Kakarot's been slacking or whatever. And he does his radar and the farmer is like, who are you? And he's pointing his shotgun at him or his rifle or whatever. And Raditz just scans him. He's like, power level of 5. And in my head, I'm like, what a pussy. I bet my power level is at least 10, 15. Like, to the farmer, come on, you're stronger than that. So anyway.
I'm a solid 6.
On a good
1.
day, I might be a 7. 1.
My power level is 1. It may even be in the negative.
But, so it was the moment when the guy shoots the gun at Raditz and Raditz catches the bullet and then just like, fling, flicks it back at him and kills the dude with the bullet. Boom. In the show, I think he flicks it and it hits the dude's gun and knocks the gun out of his hand and doesn't kill him. But in the game, it very much looks like he just flicks that bullet back, hits dude right between the eyes, and puts him to his fucking end, right?
I think that was actually an Ocean Dub thing where they didn't want to have anyone actually die. You always got sent to another dimension if you did.
Okay. That would make sense. Well, so in any case, just that moment, I laughed so fucking hard that I was like, all right, I'm in. And then I guess we can kind of just get into gameplay talk now and stuff, and you know, just Dragon Ball Z story as well. Just that first part you're playing through is the Saiyan saga, where like Vegeta and Raditz and big
Nappa.
bald guy Nappa. Thank you. So I was like, dude, it's the name of the place you can go get auto parts from. What the fuck, Nappa? Yeah.
No, they're Saiyans. It's a type of cabbage.
Oh right, Nappa. Okay.
What are you saying?
Is Goku a type
They're
of
all
cabbage?
vegetables.
Get it? Saying.
Oh, Kakarot, carrot. Duh.
He's a carrot.
That right.
Vegeta's vegetable. That, you know, Gohan means rice. It's all there.
Launch is actually lunch, but then the American one they called her Launch. I think in the Japanese thing, like her name is Lunch. I could be
Neither of
wrong.
You got the dad joke, or are you just openly ignoring it?
What was it?
I said, "What are you saying?"
Oh no, I ignored that.
It wasn't
Dick.
cringe enough.
But yeah, so it really that beginning Saiyan saga and going through and like you doing the battles with Raditz and then going up and fighting Vegeta and all of that. It's fun, but like Mikhailov has already mentioned, the game really opens up after that when you get to your first intermission, and that's where like in the intermissions is like, okay, this is where you can go and gather the Dragon Balls. And you can wish for Zenny, which is money in the game. You can wish for Z-Orbs, which are used to level up, which are the collectibles that you see all around that you can fly around and collect. There's red, green, blue, and rainbow-colored ones. And then there's also this currency called D-Metals. Anyway, all of that's used to level up your characters and such. And once it opens up, there's like different mechanics. It's like, dude, even going into like the third and fourth, like we were going into the Boost saga towards the end, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you can build cars and race them now. It's just like, what? All right. And I don't know if you guys...
They're still adding shit that late in the game.
It's just like things you can do. Well, I should say not the Boost saga, because the Boost saga, pretty much the entire Boost saga is like, hey, once you start this, you can't do anything else till the game's over. It's like you're on the golden path from here on out. Because Boo, you know, everybody... I mean, spoilers for Dragon Ball Z if you've never seen it. Boo destroys the world, pretty much. He eats everyone.
Yeah.
So during that whole section, it's all story. There's no side content at all. But in that area,
and when you're doing story, it's like it's very straightforward. It's like fly here. There's a couple of like parts where you can like maybe do some fishing. You know, you can gather mats. You can do a couple of side quests. But once you're invested in story, you're typically invested in story. It's literally just A to B, continue, fight, A to B, continue, fight.
Yeah.
And then you get like the episode title with the Shenron like slithering in, and it tells you like, you know, Goku Super Saiyan form or something like that, and it's the original announcer. And then when you do get to the end of the story, you'll get the same dragon, and it'll give you all the fights that you had and how you ranked on them, which I thought was pretty cool.
I ranked S in every fight but 2, and I was so fucking mad.
I A ranked a few. I've not gotten below A though.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I know that I didn't make it very far, but I was S ranking everything. I was going to ask, is that typical or not?
I
I think if you play on, I'm sorry, you go first.
No, I was gonna say as long as you don't get your ass, beat, you're probably gonna get a decent A to S score.
I would think that comes into play if you're playing at a higher difficulty.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well, see, when I jumped into it, I started on hard and then dropped it to try and kind of speed run and get further into the game. But I never got anything besides an S,
I mean,
even when I was still playing on hard.
I will say fights do like exponentially get harder as you go on. You start
They do.
running into enemies that are like glowing red, and if you beat all of the glowing red enemies on the map, it will then spawn in like a glowing red Vegeta or like a glowing red Raditz. Say you go and you kill him, and then it'll spawn in a glowing red Vegeta, and then you go and kill him. And I'm talking like these are really fucking hard fights. And then it would spawn in like a glowing red Frieza, and that would be the hardest one of that area. And if you beat, that's how I ended up getting such high level. But I didn't start running through those till like towards the later game when I was high enough level to handle it,
Right.
Because one of the first times I died and had to, like whatever happened, I don't remember exactly if you reload checkpoint or if you kind of just spawn again. I can't remember, but
you can reload from a save, or you can try the fight again.
Okay, that might have been what I did, is reloaded a save. I tried one of the fueled up Vegeta after I beat Raditz by the skin of my teeth. But yeah, Vegeta beat my motherfucking ass. Like there was nothing I could do about it. And yeah. So, but that was I think like when I beat the game, my Gohan was like a level 140 something. So there's definitely a lot. I think max level for some characters is like anywhere between 200 and 300.
The cap is, and I found this up purely by accident. The cap is 250.
250? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's not over 9,000 at all.
No. It's a weird level cap too. Like it's not a cap at 100 like most games. Like you go higher than that.
Well, it's an 8-bit number. Because, like, all ones in 8-bit is, like, 256, so they just get a round number at 250.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, that's true, because, like, back in the old games, isn't, like, 255, like, the most you're allowed to have of anything?
Yeah, because, like, on, like, Pokemon Red and stuff, if you glitched it, you would get a overflow, so, like, 257 would be treated as a negative.
Yes.
Even though it shouldn't be, but that would essentially give you functionally almost infinite of an item.
Yeah.
I believe I remember that being the biggest thing that jumps out to me, remembering that, God, I fucked that sentence all up, was Final Fantasy VIII. When you would put in your junction stuff, it would max out at 255.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a magic number. 655352 was another number. That I think was like reserved for stats, like invisible stats. Or high score. I think 65535 is the highest you can get in Pac-Man.
I'm trying to think of
Don't quote me on that, though.
I'm trying to think of some game mechanics to touch on before we go and touch on more about the story and stuff, since that's what most of us all know about. So there's a thing called community boards, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The community boards give you different stats. Like the one with Goku, it like will raise your stats for fighting and stuff. And there's one for like Bulma, who builds things. You can do things in her board to make your machines come out more strong, your cars come out faster, yada yada yada. There's a lot of boards like that. And there's
a specific board called adulting.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think Bulma might be. Is it Bulma?
It might be Chi-Chi.
Or is it Chi-Chi?
Oh yeah,
no,
it might be
Chi-Chi's
Chi-Chi.
cooking. I don't remember now. Chi-Chi's cooking. There's one that's
was it the big samurai guy?
Yajirobe.
Yeah, I love him. I love Yajirobe.
Is like adventuring.
His might be like adventuring, like getting.
His is adventuring, yeah. I know training is another one, and that one's got like King Kai.
But you
Which
get
one
these...
has the adulting one now? I've lost it. Oh, it's Roshi. Roshi's the adulting one.
Oh, Master Roshi.
Master Roshi.
That is a
sense.
completely different definition of adulting.
The little old perv.
Oh man, that moment in the game where it does the flashback to when, or no, it's Gohan. Gohan comes up on Krillin, and Krillin's reading the dirty magazine, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Nothing. Gohan's like, Krillin's like, "I don't want him to see me like this." It's like, bro, he's already seen you like this. Like, the gig's up. But yeah, so the community boards, you end up getting these little like community board medals that are based on characters that you meet throughout the game and characters that you would know from the series. You get a handful of them through the main story, but most of them come through doing side quests later on. So if you're wanting to fill out your Z board, your community board, that is a main thing that you're going to have to do, those side quests.
And those side quests are actually given by not just Dragon Ball Z characters, but some characters are from the original Dragon Ball.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those pop up just in the ports that I was playing that I recognized from Dragon Ball.
Yeah, like there was one point where like I'm just going around the city, I'm headed to Capsule Corp, and I ran into like Oolong. And I don't remember Oolong from DBZ at all.
He popped in from time to time, but he was mostly in Dragon Ball.
Right. Like I remember him from the original Dragon Ball, but I don't really remember him that much in Z.
Now, there is also, I think I've mentioned it, I didn't really do this much at all. I never even built one, but there is a where you can go and build a vehicle. One is a bipedal, like mech looking thing almost, but it's not a mech. And then one is a car that you can build, and I think you race them. There is fishing where you attach a fake tail and drop it in the water and catch these astronomically massive fish. Like, they're the biggest goddamn fish I've ever seen. But of course, because it's Dragon Ball Z. But the one that I want to touch on that is the most interesting is you guys may have seen on the main menu that says Dragon Ball Card Warriors.
I didn't try it, but it was intriguing.
It is a fully fleshed out battle
TCG.
card game. Yeah.
And you get the cards through going through the main story.
That, and you also, like, so once I loaded it up, I had a bunch of card packs that I could open. And then it's an entire, like, the first person I fought was Mr. Satan. I ended up beating him. I haven't done any more. I just wanted to try it before I went on the show. But it is a whole other game, but it's a card game.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? That's awesome.
I got the impression from looking at it, because I did load up the main menu for the card game. I got the impression that it was like a mobile game that they've tied in because it had something about linking accounts and stuff. That is purely assumption on my part. I did not research that at all or look into it.
I could see it being a mobile game, but I didn't see anywhere to like spend real money. It was like currency that you earn by playing the game. So I thought that was cool, at least, that they're not trying to nickel and dime you like a gacha game or something with Dragon Ball characters.
I think that might have been on phones too, now that you mention it. But I could also be remembering completely wrong. There was some sort of Dragon Ball Z something on mobile.
But from what I enjoyed, I will be going back and checking it out. I mean, I'm going to be playing more of this game because I have DLC that I haven't played yet, which is based on Dragon Ball Super, which I've never seen ever. I've never seen any of it except one scene, and I'm going to touch on this scene right now because Dane, you said you've seen Super, right?
Yeah, I've watched all of Super.
All right, it's the scene that made me fall back in love with Vegeta, and you might already know what scene I'm talking about. Beerus is standing there being Beerus. And Bulma says, I don't remember what the fuck Bulma said or did, but Beerus doesn't like it, and Beerus like slaps Bulma down to the ground.
Oh, and Vegeta just wrecks him.
And Vegeta loses his absolute shit and destroys a god.
All right. Can I have a side tangent on this?
Yeah, please, absolutely.
All right, so this is actually one of the reasons why I love Vegeta as a character more than Goku. And interviews that Toriyama did before he passed talking about the characters, he just explicitly stated that he didn't like Goku's characterization in the anime adaptation of Dragon Ball Z because they made him that noble hero type. Vegeta is such a better person than Goku. So much so, I based a quiz on it that we'll play later. But he very clearly loves his wife. In his own way, he loves his son. And that moment with Beerus, him snapping and jumping to the defense of his wife. Flip that for a moment. Imagine that was, instead of Bulma, it was Chi-Chi, and instead of Vegeta, it was Goku. Do you think Goku would lose his shit on Beerus? Or do you think he'd be like, oh, wow, Chi-Chi, you got knocked the fuck out?
Yeah. Why? He would have probably been like angry and like, hey, what'd you do that for? Vegeta was like, oh, you done fucked up, Aaron.
Yeah.
Because Toriyama actually described Goku, like he flat out said, Goku does not see his friends, or rather his family, differently from his friends. He treats his wife and his sons as just really good friends he happens to share genetics with. Dude, he doesn't have that same concept.
It's legitimate because he's just like, hey, I'm dead now. Sorry, guys. But, like, I had to die. And Chi-Chi's just like, he's like, don't worry, Chi-Chi, it'll be okay.
Like, or when he comes back to life and Chi-Chi is having a meltdown, like, you're an alien, you're already going to outlive me, and now you got an extra 7 years because your body did not physically age. That actually gets called out in the show.
It gets called out in the game,
And
too.
it's just like,
She's like, I'm older and you look the exact same.
Now, that said, I think Kakarot does a pretty darn good job with the actual storytelling.
Yeah, and that was my main, that wanted to be my main focus of this, is like, playing through this game was like me sitting down and watching Dragon Ball Z with no filler.
Yeah, that's
None.
exactly how I felt too. And in fact, at one point, I'm playing and my son actually comes and watches me play for a little bit. He watched me defeat Frieza, which, you know, that might not be a great thing because Frieza at one point calls Goku a simpleton, and now my 4-year-old is running around calling everybody a simpleton.
well, my kid runs around calling everybody Canadian, so I guess we all have our issues that we need to work out.
Hey,
Yeah.
buddy, I'm not Canadian.
But I don't know. Let's fast forward 20 years. Somebody's going to ask my son how he got into Dragon Ball, and he's going to be like, well, my dad was playing this game one time.
And honestly, the game is pretty damn faithful to the anime. Like, I didn't see any deviations
Very
at
faithful to the anime. Like, the only difference I found between the anime and the parts of the game that I played is that the slow-moving parts of the anime that tend to drag out over, like, an episode or two is just you flying to the location to do what they did. And so you're actively interacting with it, which makes it less of a slog.
all. Yeah.
It felt like the parts that I was playing, like they were aiming more for the Dragon Ball Z Kai edition, where it was faster paced and they cut down a lot of excess out of it.
Which
But I did have in... Oh, go for it.
I was going to say, I'm a fan of that.
Well, I have an example. When Goku is doing the Spirit Bomb and they revive Earth, it's towards the end of the game, and he's having to get everybody to put their energy into the Spirit Bomb, which hilariously they don't do until Mr. Satan tells them to do it. That was fucking absolutely hysterical to me. I hate the character Mr. Satan, but I love his voice. He's just hilarious when he talks. Anyway,
I'm glad that they kept his name Mr. Satan, too, by the way.
yes, it's just hilarious to me.
If Trump was a professional wrestler.
yeah. So, like,
Well, quick quiz. What did they call him in the anime translation back in the Toonami days?
Hercule.
Uh-huh, there it is. Terrible name.
oh my god,
Terrible
that's right.
freaking name.
Holy shit, I forgot about
it
that.
threw me so hard because I didn't know that his original name was Mr. Satan until I was watching the DBGT translation. I was like, wait, why is he running around with a rope that says Satan on it?
Dude, to hear the entire Earth at the end of this game chanting, Mr. Satan! Mr. Satan! Mr. Satan! Oh, I was cracking the fuck up. But that episode arc where he's building that spirit bomb is like, what, 6-7 episodes long? It's some ridiculously long amount of episodes of Dragon
Yeah.
Ball.
Yeah, I've
is.
heard it was ridiculous.
And
Not as bad as the Frieza fight in the original run, but yeah, it was bad.
well, even the Frieza, like, they're not that long in the game. It's like it happens like how it would happen in real time. They aren't, showing the 500 things that are going on while he's building that spirit bomb and stuff. It's just very condensed.
And I specifically remember when Goku turned Super Saiyan 3 for the first time, and it was legit just a whole entire 22-minute episode of him screaming.
Yeah, and in
Like
this game, it
different
just happens.
camera angles and like some weird other shit happening, and it was literally a 20-minute episode of him screaming. And then at the end of the episode, he becomes Super Saiyan 3 and the episode ends. And I just threw my keyboard or something. I threw something.
Well, you will be happy.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he has Raditz' haircut, he has no eyebrows, and for the first time in his life, pupils.
Yeah.
You'll be happy when you get to that point
And-
in the game then, because it's
Cut-
like a 2-minute process.
Well, at least they cut it down to 2 minutes.
I mean, it might even not be 2 minutes. It's like he powers up and then he's like, you haven't even seen what I can do. And then it just, boom, and then he looks different. And then he's like, let's go.
But that's how it should have been.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, that would just remind me of, like, to bring it back to Power Rangers, like, it's morphin' time, and, like, the bad guy is just standing around waiting for them to morph.
Each episode is one person morphing.
Yeah. No, it's just, I'm actually glad that they fixed that in Once and Always, where they actually show that the morph is actually instantaneous. And I'm like, that makes so much more sense than what we saw in the 90s. But yeah, like, that's what I thought Super Saiyan 3 was. Like, I thought it was kind of an intense thing. Even Frieza's transformations, I don't remember them being that long.
Yeah, and I don't know. That's basically what I got from this game the most, is that it condensed everything down to like a palatable length. There's a few standout moments throughout the show, and if you guys have standout moments, please, this is the time to ensure, because let's start talking about story, because I've pretty much covered everything as far as gameplay goes. I mean, you level up like an RPG, and
there is fishing, there is cooking.
Yeah, fishing, and cooking is important because you get stat boosts that are temporary, but you also get permanent stat boosts every time you eat. So like, you'll eat something that'll give you like, it'll give you plus 5% ki for 10 minutes, but it also gives you plus 50 health permanently and things like that. So it's worth it to eat your meals. You got to keep Goku fed. That motherfucker likes to eat. So
you don't really get to play as Goku that much.
Well, even Gohan, they're the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the game's named after him or anything.
Yeah, right.
So,
to be fair, though,
I
also felt the game opened up when I had control of Gohan. Like, let's just ignore the whole like intermission stuff and how like most of the time you're playing as Gohan during all that stuff. I just found Gohan to be so much easier to control.
You mean like in fights?
Not just in fights, but like navigating the world and everything. Like maybe it was just his size, or maybe he moved faster than the other characters. I don't know what it was, but I found actually him to be the best character to do the intermission stuff with, because I just felt it easier to traverse the world with him.
The camera did feel like it fit better with Gohan's frame, because early on, playing with Goku and then Piccolo, the camera always felt like it was pointing too far up for where I was comfortable. And I would try and adjust it, and it would just slowly drift to be pointing more up. But whenever the game opens up with you being able to fly as Gohan, I didn't feel like I had that problem anymore.
Right.
So hearing you say that makes me think it was less that I got used to it and more that it was just working better with maybe his stature or something.
Yeah.
And they probably
he was smaller.
I don't know. Because you played as him the most, they probably just programmed it to fit him the best.
That's also possible. But also, I felt like when I was playing as Gohan, it felt more like the original Dragon Ball. Like, because Gohan is basically
Kid Goku.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my first thing I want to talk about, because you brought this up in chat, Mikhailov. When you're playing as Gohan and you are fighting, oh shit, I don't remember who you're fighting. It might be Raditz, or it might be before that. Yeah, it's before that. The fucking moon comes out, and Gohan looks up at it and turns into a big giant monkey. And Piccolo puts two and two together that it's the moon that is making him transform into this giant monkey, and this giant monkey is going to destroy Earth if he doesn't do something about it. So Piccolo, oh my god, Piccolo, mark that down. That's going to be that's going to be a fucking D&D character name. Piccolo shoots a fucking beam into space and blows the Earth, or blows the moon up.
Just straight up fucking blows the moon.
Boom.
Nobody cares. Doesn't make the news.
It made me think
gravity doesn't change. The tides don't change. Mankind does not get destroyed. Just, there was a moon there.
Mr. Satan establishes later on, it was all just smoke and mirrors and
but it wasn't.
Lights.
The moon is legit gone, and nobody cares.
It made me think of the little cutscenes in Katamari, where the kids would be like, "Mom, the moon's gone." Yeah, whatever, sweetie. Come on, we gotta go. Oh, okay.
The tides are fucked. Does anyone care? This is going to change like fishing. We all obviously eat lots and lots of big fish.
We've lost California and Florida.
Economies? Anybody?
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. How? And it's funny too, because like it was Willie, and it was like a whole bunch of other people who I brought this up to, including people that I work with, that are just like, it's a show about giant monkeys with massive power levels. And I'm like, yes, I get it. But the frickin' moon is where my suspension of disbelief ends.
Fair enough. But yeah, that moment, another moment that jumped out to me is, and I think we touched on this either during Patreon or earlier, when when Frieza shows back up, and it's him and his dad, and I'm like, I don't remember this being part of the Cell saga, and then Trunks shows up and just obliterates both of them immediately. I went, okay, that makes a lot of sense. In the context, it does. Out of context, it doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. This dude from the future shows up, kills them, and then is like, I'm going to wait here till Goku gets here. By the way, I'm actually Vegeta's kid, but don't tell him. What?
I actually remember in middle school, my buddy Lee, who had magazines of anime shit where he was getting information before the stuff was getting dubbed, telling me about the future Trunks stuff. He's like, no. It's like Vegeta and Bulma's son from the future. I'm like, whoa. Vegeta hit that?
Vegeta and Bulma. What?
He's like, yeah. He comes from the future where everything is terrible to fight androids. Whoa, wait, hold on, rewind. Future, fighting robots. You sure you weren't watching Terminator? No. It's Dragon Ball Z. It's stuff in the mag. And he's telling me all this
What
stuff.
about Goku? He dies from a
bullshit.
heart attack. What?
And it was just everything he's telling me. Like, you're full of shit. Someone is just yanking your chain, dude. You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
So I got one other moment I want to bring up, and then I want to open it up to you guys and some of your favorite moments. And I was so happy that this was in the game. And then actually I do want to touch on my favorite moment in the game. But so when I realized that Gotenks was going to be in this, because Gotenks cracks me the fuck up, that cocky little shit. Like, so
That's got to be a fusion thing.
yeah,
That is a fusion thing, yeah.
when they, for one, watching Piccolo and Goku demonstrate how to do the fusion stance was hilarious, and you guys will see that if you play. Well, Dane, I know you probably won't, but Mikhailov,
I've
if you
seen
play
that in the episode, and it was funny there.
Yeah, so, but
Yeah.
when they do it and they become Gotenks, and he's just like, all right, that moment when they get Boo trapped in the time compression thing, and Gotenks is being super cocky, and he's like, all right, I'm going to pretend like I'm out of power, and then I'm going to come out with my super move. So he starts talking about, oh, God, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, yada, yada, yada. And Piccolo is like, oh, shit. And he blows up the fucking entrance to the place so they can never leave. So they're stuck in here with Boo. So if Boo kills them, Boo is at least stuck in here. And Gotenks is like, what are you doing? I was going to do my super cool move. And Piccolo's like, what? Is this really the time to be cocky? It's that whole scene.
Dude, some of the show's funniest moments involve Piccolo.
Yeah.
It's because he's so damn serious all the time.
Right. So when he gets to the point where there is levity, it's just hilarious to see him react.
There's a moment where Vegeta has a moment like that too, and it's when you beat Boo and Vegeta is about to obliterate Fat Boo, and Mr. Satan's laying on top of him like, please, no, don't kill him, just spare him. And Goku comes walking up, and Vegeta's like, no, we need to kill him, he tried to destroy the world, yada yada. And Goku goes, let him live. And Vegeta's saying like, all right, I will just, and then he just turns and looks at Vegeta with this face that I can't describe, but it's like his eyes are super wide and his mouth is open. And he's just like, what? And then he just stares at Goku like that while Goku's going through this whole thing about how, no, I think the bad part of him's been defeated, blah, 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 blah. Vegeta's just staring at him with this dumbfounded face. And then it's just like, whatever, and walks away. But my favorite moment in the game, and Mikhailov, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do when you get to it, right? The final fight, the final boss fight with Boo. It happens when Goku is building the spirit bomb. It's like time freezes, and you go into a fight with Boo that, like, remember the mental fight thing that Gohan does with Krillin to train, and they train in their minds?
Yeah.
So that's basically what happens with you and Boo, and your Goku, and all of a sudden starts playing in the background, Shala and Shala. So the fucking theme song for the show is playing while you're sitting there in this final battle while you're fighting Boo, and the more you start beating up Boo and getting his health lower, the music's getting a little louder and a little louder. Oh, bro, I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps right now. It was such a good fucking fight, and just that music just pumping you up while you're doing it, and then you beat him, and then the final scenes play out and the game is over. And it's like, dude, fantastic final boss fight. I am such a sucker for sticking the theme song in during the climatic moment of whatever you're watching, especially anime, because you get so used to hearing that over and over and over as you're watching the beginning of the episodes.
Right.
And yeah, just, man, fantastic. So what are some of y'all's like standout moments from the show that I'm sure would have shown up in the game, since this game is basically playing through the story?
So I'm going to talk about it through the game, because it was just a part of the Namek saga that I really didn't get to see because of just how screwed up Toonami was. But there's a moment where Vegeta just realizes that he's cooked. Like, he actually gets paralyzed with fear, something that he'd never experienced before. And he actually, like, starts crying, which is something that I've never seen Vegeta do ever. And this is like his basically, I don't know if I want to call it his come to Jesus moment, but it's definitely a turning point in him as a character, because then he finally realizes that he's not infallible, that he is going to die, and there is no way anybody's going to be able to save him or be willing to save him.
It's like the first time he openly shows weakness, yeah.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where, like, you know, his last words are flat out begging Goku to beat Frieza. And there was just something really powerful in that scene for one of my favorite characters to actually, like, hit a turning point, realize probably too late that the people that he's been forced to work with, the people that he tried to kill, are actually not that bad, and he just lets his guard down. He relies on other people to essentially help him. I mean, granted, yes, he dies, but he also gets brought back. So
now, that's the moment too where he admits that he's not the Super Saiyan that Frieza has to worry about, and yeah, that's a big character moment.
Yeah, no, and that's when you kind of like, I don't breathe a sigh of relief is the wrong thing, but that's the moment where I knew that he was no longer the bad guy.
Yeah, that was definitely his turning point.
Yeah.
He turned babyface.
I like the end of his character arc better than the first major turn of it. Yeah, that is definitely the turning point on him.
Yeah, it's a powerful moment. Like, it's massive character development. I'm just here for it.
And what about you, Dane?
When I think DBZ, there are two major moments that were just really big to me. The moment when, you know, Gohan is kicking Cell's ass. He has knocked, I think it was 18 out of Cell, and he's downgraded back to imperfect Cell.
Yeah, it's such a cool moment in the game, too. Yeah.
And you're really seeing that kind of Saiyan cockiness come out in Gohan for the first time in his life, as he's, you know, strutting around with the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. And Cell pulls his trump card, and he's going to essentially self-destruct. He's probably going to die, but he's going to take all of them out with him. The one time, in my opinion, that Goku was ever a good father was him realizing Gohan doesn't have this anymore. Jumping in and shooting off with an instant transmission to get Cell somewhere else. Which, yeah, it was really shitty. He goes and he kills King Kai in the process.
Yeah, sorry, King Kai. I didn't know where else to take him. Boom!
So,
fucking hilarious.
Yeah, kind of a, you know, I just imagine King Kai going, oh, fuck me. But that moment was probably the only real good dad moment that Goku ever has as a father, in my opinion.
Kind of.
Goes, my son doesn't have this. It's going to kill me, but I'm bailing him out. That was a big one to me. And it does make me sad that you never really see that kind of self-sacrifice for the sake of his son anymore in Goku's journey throughout any of the series.
Kind of funny how throughout this whole series, Piccolo is more of a dad to Gohan than Goku actually is.
Isn't that a big joke and abridged?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I know I've said it for years, and me and my friends have talked about it. I haven't really watched that much of Abridged, but it would not surprise me if there is just a major running gag that Piccolo's a better dad than Goku, because Goku's a terrible father.
I think the running joke in that is everyone tells Goku he's a terrible father. Yeah.
Well, also, like, sorry, I needed to take a minute to recall this. I didn't mean to have that big, massive pause. In the most recent movie that was in theaters, which I want to say it was like last year or 2 years ago, I actually went and saw it, and it was a pretty darn good movie. But in that movie, Gohan is a grown-up working like a grown-up job, and Piccolo is still around, and he's calling Piccolo. Now, granted, Goku's dead. Like, him and Vegeta, I think, are both dead. I think they're both in the afterlife in this movie. And
I thought they were training with Beerus.
Were they training with Beerus? I thought they were dead and training with Beerus.
Because this would happen after Broly, and I know they won the fight with Broly.
See, unfortunately, I wish I knew the context of where this fell. But you know what movie I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I think it's Dragon Ball Superheroes.
Something like that. I remember seeing it in theaters fairly recently. And well, yeah, Goku's not around, and Gohan is calling Piccolo like to go pick up Goten because he literally doesn't have anybody else to call, not even his own dad. Like, so he calls the person who actually did raise him, which is Piccolo.
That dude from the Big Brother program.
Yeah. Which, you know what, Chi-Chi raises him too, but he definitely looks up to Piccolo more than he looks up to Goku. Not to say he doesn't love Goku, because it's obvious he does, but it's weird that Piccolo's more of the father figure.
Well, you know how Goku, like, you've got the symbol on the gi
Mhm.
to set, who they were the school of. Goku was of the turtle school. Tien and Chaosu were of the crane.
Yeah.
Gohan is the
Krillin's
only...
the same school, right?
Yeah, he was turtle.
Yeah.
So was Yamcha.
Yeah.
But Gohan was of the demon school. He trained under Piccolo,
Right.
first and foremost. So there is that, student-master relationship there.
And isn't that why isn't that why Gohan doesn't have Kamehameha at first?
Yeah, he does eventually train with Goku for the Cell games.
Right. So
But-
he gets it there, but he doesn't have it through any of the Namek saga or the Saiyan saga. He has different
Yeah.
texts.
He
He favors
Masenko, right?
Masenko, which I think is one that he learned from Piccolo.
Right, exactly.
And that plays out in the game too, because Gohan doesn't get Kamehameha until much later.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot that we could talk about with Dragon Ball Z for sure, because we have barely even touched on like the Cell saga and things like that. But I do know, A, it's getting late and Mikhailov has to work tomorrow, and B, we still have a quiz and a few listener questions to get through. So, gentlemen, would you like to do some ratings and then move on? Is there any last things you wanted to touch on with Dragon Ball? Maybe we could come back to this at some point and talk just more about just Dragon Ball Z for
Yeah, let's do some
media dump.
Let's do some ratings.
All right, then.
Done.
God, I'll totally guest on Media Dump if we want to talk about Dragon Ball Z one day.
I'll try and talk Jeff into it.
Yeah.
If
Just
not, maybe it'll be one of those
not
where
on
Jeff,
a week. Maybe
it's like-
not on a weeknight.
Jeff's like, no, you can just co-host the one about the Vince McMahon documentary. I was like, no, come on, Jeff, be on it too.
I will drag him kicking and screaming into that. I want to do that so bad.
I started it. I'm on episode 2
When are you guys doing an episode on Magic Mike?
because that's the one Mikhailov definitely wants to be on.
You just set off a small tangent.
Oh,
The
no.
greatest needle drop in the history of cinema happens in Magic Mike 2.
Is it an actual needle that drops, or is it something else?
No, needle drop as in cueing the music for a scene.
Gotcha.
It's diegetic, so it's in universe, and it is the greatest one in the history of cinema. They send Big Dick Ritchie, that is the character's name, into a convenience store to kind of find his groove again, and they're like, make that upset, very clearly unhappy convenience store girl smile. And he walks in there, he's looking around like, what the fuck am I going to do? I mean, they're strippers. You know what's going to happen. And then just a gift from the heavens, it starts playing I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys over the radio in the convenience store. And he starts stripping and like rips his shirt off. He grabs a bottle of water, dumps it all over him. He rips a bag of Cheetos just glistening. And he comes up from as the song's finishing its peak and looks at the girl. He's like, how much for the water and the Cheetos? And the whole time she's just kind of standing there, mouth agape, staring at this unprompted striptease. And she just grins from ear to ear. And you see, Gabriel Iglesias and all the other guys just at the window. Yeah. That scene is gold. I sent it to my mother and said, do not judge me. Watch this scene. So I have no problem talking about Magic Mike. I made my wife watch those movies because of that scene.
Oh my goodness.
Sounds like a good Media Dump topic to me.
Yeah, I've already pitched
In
Dane.
tangent.
I've already pitched Dane a bunch of different ideas. Like,
And I've added them to my list.
I felt bad because it was like they got their first episode recorded, and I'm listening to the first episode before anyone ever heard it, and I've already been like, all right, I got like 6 ideas that I want to guest on eventually for Dane. Here they are. But yeah,
All
anyway,
right.
let's do some ratings. So, Dane, let's start with you. From let's say what you played a bit, or do you want to give a do not rate?
I think my opinions on it are strong enough that it does warrant a rating. Whether that's really fair to the game or not,
No, that's fine.
listeners can decide. So, my kind of final thoughts on it, just in a nutshell. I mentioned earlier, it committed a lot of cardinal sins for me. You name the game Kakarot, and you spend most of the time playing as Gohan. They skipped the whole Goku goes to hell scene from him being on Snake Way, which revolves entirely around him stealing peaches from King Yama's tree, in lieu of let's play as Gohan collecting apples and catching deer. It's the same bullshit. It would teach you the same things tutorial-wise, but you get the fun of Goku being in hell. I don't see why they cut that. The level ups, in my opinion, there's too many separate systems interacting, like the community board. Really interesting in theory. I love the idea they were going with. I hated the way that it worked. Maybe that changes further into the game, I don't know. But if I was playing this game purely on my own, I would have noped out super quick. But it does do some things right. It's really, from what I've seen and what I've heard y'all talk about, it's very true to the story of Dragon Ball Z. Graphically, I wouldn't say that it looks like you're playing an episode of the cartoon, but as far as 3D graphics can go, they did a really good job representing it. My favorite part that I played through were boss fights, because Raditz whooped my ass, and I loved actually having something that was pushing me again. I want to give it some more time, but as it stands now, I got to give the game, and I'm sorry, I love the show, I didn't like the game, 4 inexplicably naked child Gokus out of 10 very confused anime friends of his.
All right, a 4 out of 10. Starting off low. Mikhailov, what about you, buddy?
I mean, I think I'm going to be more down the middle of the three of us. You got Dane here, who didn't care for it at all. It took me a long time to get into the game, but once I got into the game, I was invested. And I kind of disagree. I think it's a very good way of retelling this story, and I think it is fairly faithful to the anime, and it does feel like I'm watching the anime all over again. I'm just also actively participating in it. Did not like the fishing and cooking mechanics at first. I did warm up to them. I don't know that there's necessarily perfect mechanics for navigating the world. This game could probably have just been a linear romp and nobody would have really known the difference. But some of the side quests are great. Being able to traverse the world is fairly nice, and I actually did kind of enjoy that part of the game. I do wish there were some easier ways to level up. Maybe I'm just not there yet. Maybe that comes with collecting the Dragon Balls. And, you know, I do wish that some of the mechanics were maybe just fleshed out a little bit more. Like, the fishing's good, but like having to go around and get the Z orbs just seemed kind of unnecessary to me. You get plenty of them by fighting enemies, so I don't think they needed to be sitting in the world. They were kind of pointless to me. I ended up just skipping them anyway. I would collect them if they were in my path, but other than that, I wouldn't go actively looking for them. I always felt that I had enough from the fights.
Yeah.
So also the fights. I did like the fights. I really never cared for like the fighting game versions of these stories or retellings of these stories, but I think I like the packaging here. I like the way the fights are. They're more RPG-esque. They feel more like Dragon Ball fights than the fighting games do. But the game isn't perfect, and I want to just hit it right down the middle with a 7 Dragon Balls out of 10 Shenrons.
All right, that's a respectable one as well. I respect both of your opinions. Now,
here's why we're wrong.
I'm not even going to
this is going to be the part where, like, you could tell that we have 3 very, very different views on this game.
Yeah, so I went into this with little memory of DBZ, just watching it with my buddies back in the day, but I never really sought it out. I never really became an anime nerd, I'll call it, until a couple years ago. I had watched little things here and there, but you wouldn't have caught me, say, 5 or 6 years ago walking around going "Shiku noko 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 koshi tan." Like, you just wouldn't have caught me doing that. Now,
thank you. I just got that out of my head.
You're welcome. I will now just walk around singing that to myself because I enjoy it thoroughly more now. So, and it might be too that I'm older now. I appreciate storytelling more than I did as a kid, whereas back then I was just like action. I love a good story. And now I smoke this stuff called reefer, and it really just like elevates your emotions, right? So like I played through this game just so fucking invested in the story. Like I got, because like I said, there was only bits and pieces that I remembered. So there were whole parts of this game that were new to me because I never saw those episodes. So most of the Boo saga, I had no fucking clue. I knew who Boo was. I knew who Kid Boo was. I didn't know about Boo in between that. I didn't know that evil Boo separated from good. I didn't know any of that. That's all shit that I learned playing this game. To the point that this game made me tear up. And it's a moment when Vegeta knows he's about to die, and he calls Trunks over to him and hugs him for the first time ever. And it's like, oh shit, Vegeta knows, like, oh yeah, I'm getting a little teary now thinking about it. Like, dude, it's just such a powerful scene. And like that, and then just seeing how going through the frustration of every time you think they're about to fucking kill Boo, he fucking swallows somebody and gets more powerful, and you're like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. For all of that to wrap around and then end good, and you get that final scene with Goku riding on the cloud with Gohan, or it might be, yeah, Gohan from earlier in the show and everything, and they wave, and then you see the picture of everybody back there in Dente's place. I'm gonna call it Dente's place because what's his face is dead now.
Kami.
Yeah, Kami, thank you. He's now part of Piccolo, so I'm going to call it Dende's place, the palace, instead of Kami's palace. But by the way, Dende, primo character. I love Dende. He's the man.
Oh, Dende.
Dende is the man.
I did come around on him. I didn't like him at first when I was watching the show originally, but I did come around on him.
And Mr. Satan can suck a bag of dicks. I do respect him more after the Boo saga. But before that, oh my God, I was like, this is the most insufferable character.
He becomes a little more tolerable in Super.
Which this game makes me want to dive more into it. I even want to check out GT. Maybe I'll save that for last.
The one thing I will say about GT, watch the DBZ movies first and pretend that GT follows up the movies rather than Z, and it makes way more sense.
Okay, that's fair enough. So I mean, I enjoyed this game to the point that I went and I got I had the first season pass. And I went and put the second season pass on my wish list where I was like, I'm going to play through the DLC and stuff. I mean, the card game. I might even go back and try to go through and get more achievements with it. I really, really liked this game a lot. To the shock of probably everyone listening, I am going to give this game a flat out Super Saiyan 10.
Wow.
And I base that solely on storytelling, and that is just to the credit of how good the show is and how good Akira Toriyama and their writers were. Because that's really all this game is. It's just the story of Dragon Ball Z. But I think that what they were going for, they achieved what they were going for in this game. To me, again, like we said, we have three very differing opinions here, right? So, but yeah.
And I will grant, if I hadn't watched Dragon Ball Z so many times on repeat on Toonami, waiting for the ending that I never actually finally finished, I've probably just kind of burnt myself out on the story of Dragon Ball Z at this point. So that probably didn't do the game any favors in my eyes. So I will grant that. If it hadn't been for that, I probably would have liked the game a little bit more. But
yeah, see, for me, it was more of a nostalgia trip. It was like, oh, I remember this. I don't remember this. Oh, that was my favorite character. Like, it kind of brought me back to those college days. So to me, it was a little bit more charming.
Oh, yeah. All right. Mr. Puzzles, you got a quiz for us, sir.
I do have a quiz for you. So I've titled this quiz, The Game is Truth or Bullshit, Dirtbag Goku Edition.
All right.
So the rules are fairly simple. I will list a number of events, which I will attempt to cast in the worst possible light for my own amusement. And you're going to determine if this is truth and happen an episode of the show, or if it's bullshit and I'm just trying to make Goku look bad. Be aware, I am pulling...
So we're either answering truth or bullshit.
Yep, truth or bullshit.
Okay.
You can play together as a team, or you can play against one another and see who can maybe get a better score. That's your choice. But be aware, I am pulling from every canon Dragon Ball series.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Of the current standing canon. So it's not just DBZ. There could be things from Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super present. I will not be including GT in this. And as far as timeline of events goes, the questions are listed in no particular order. So, gentlemen, do you understand the rules?
Yes. Yes, Chef.
Yes.
You want to work together, or you want to work against one another?
It's up
Want
to
to do
you, man.
old-fashioned quiz?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Let's do a little bit of friendly competition.
All right. So we'll bring it from the top, and we're coming in hot. Truth or bullshit? Goku once pulled a Trump and grabbed Bulma by the pussy.
Bullshit.
Truth.
Mikhailov with bullshit. Goku.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the shirt.
I'm a little drunk.
It's the shirt.
We'll blame it on that. Dalton with truth. The correct answer, truth.
Yeah.
Early in Dragon Ball, while Bulma was sleeping, just to make it so much better, Goku, who was a child, was lying in bed with her, resting his head in her lap, and noticed an absence of a certain bulge. Upon further inspection, he discovered the difference between boys and girls that night and woke her up screaming, "Bulma, your balls are gone."
Dude, okay, quickly. My first introduction to any of this, I was on a scout trip, and one of the other scout troops that was in the area that we were in had Dragon Ball manga, and that was the first time I ever saw naked little Goku, because apparently he showed up pretty fucking often. And
Oh,
geez.
yeah, his dick was out all the time.
but those manga were hilarious, so I would like to go back and watch that as well, or get
Sounds
my
like
hands
a
on them to
typical
read.
little kid.
Yep. Anyway, sorry, continue. 1 point for me.
All right. Question 2. Truth or bullshit? Despite his reputation as a hero, Goku hasn't won a fight on his own since he was a teenager.
Truth.
On his own in what way?
Like,
As in, won a fight by himself since he was a teenager.
From beginning to end?
Yep.
So we're not counting like him showing up later and starting a fight, or
We're talking, the big bads throughout the series.
not sure how to.
So incidental, like little henchmen wouldn't count. We're talking
but like Krillin, or I'm gonna go truth.
both saying truth.
Yep.
Actual answer. That one is bullshit.
Should have gone.
Krillin's
with my gut.
death served as the catalyst for Goku becoming a Super Saiyan, but Goku did in fact get a solo win in when fighting against Frieza. But that is actually the last
But
standing
he
solo
gets-
win he has in
no.
canon.
He gets help in that fight. If we're talking Frieza from beginning to end, he doesn't start the fight with Frieza, and then he fights with, like, he gets help from Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin to distract Frieza while he gets the Spirit Bomb. So that's only bullshit if we're talking, like, the Super Saiyan fight.
Yeah, the argument, and I've looked it up, and this is generally considered the consensus. Goku allowed Frieza to be at 100% when he was in the Super Saiyan form, and from that point forward, that would be the proper fight.
Okay.
He wasn't the only one who fought against Frieza, but everyone agrees he did get a solo win on that, but that is the last time that you can argue he had a solo win in the entirety of the franchise that's currently canon.
So if we're going by transformations, that was Frieza's final 100% transformation, and he fought Goku alone.
Yep.
Okay, fair. That wasn't the
Because-
basis for my answer, but okay.
Well, like, for example, Cell, Gohan defeated Cell, and he had help from Vegeta. Boo, he had Vegeta helping him, and everybody on the planet adding to the Spirit Bomb, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So still 1-0.
number 3, 1-0.
Okay.
Number 3, truth or bullshit? Goku beat the shit out of a 3-year-old in the process of winning his only World Martial Arts Tournament championship.
true.
True.
Both saying true. Correct answer is truth. In the final match of the 23rd World Martial Arts Championship, Goku faced off against Piccolo Jr., son of the Demon King Piccolo, who, despite his adult stature, was only canonically 3 years old at the time of the tournament.
That was a picture in the game.
Mm-hmm. That you could find, and it was like a reminiscent memory. Oh, we didn't even touch on those, but yeah.
Yeah, we didn't, but yeah, that's how I knew that was true, because I found the picture.
Did they actually bring up the age of Piccolo,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity?
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
Yeah, they did. They summarized it. They like showed a picture of the Dragon Ball episode, and then they summarized it.
All right, so this one's a short one. I did keep it short for you. Question number 4. Mikhailov, you could bring this up to a tie. In 20 years of marriage, Goku has hit his wife more than he has kissed her.
That's
Truth or bullshit?
That's bullshit. I don't remember him ever hitting her.
All right, I'm gonna say truth just to keep things interesting, but I'm not sure.
You're going truth?
I'll go truth.
All right, Mikhailov with bullshit, Dalton with truth. The correct answer is that is true.
What?
During a heated discussion in regards to Gohan's training before the Cell Games, Goku pats Chi-Chi on the back, telling her it's fine, and accidentally sends her through a wall and a tree and into a nearby rocky hillside. Later in Dragon Ball Super, Goku confesses to a very surprised and confused Vegeta that he has never kissed his wife.
What? How do you...
The scene in question, future Trunks is giving Mai a sensu bean through mouth to mouth and such, and Goku's very confused, like, what in the world is he doing right now? And Vegeta looks at Goku's like, it's a kiss, Kakarot. You never kissed your wife? No. So...
No,
the only thing we can prove is that he has had sex twice.
I just get it in, Vegeta.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, and you know what? I bet both of those times Chi-Chi was like, come here, lay down, shut the fuck up and do what I say. Like, Goku's the strongest person on Earth. Chi-Chi wears the pants in that relationship.
Gee, I wonder if he went,
This goes Super Saiyan. You're talking about blowing her through a wall.
I wonder if his pubes are spiky when he goes Super Saiyan.
They change color.
Let's make it real weird.
I think his pubes are spiky, period.
I mean, if he's got ass hair, that could be a form of sexual assault defense. Go Super
Fair.
Saiyan, spiky ass.
Although, I don't know, if we're going to go, like, perfect bod, he probably doesn't have hair down there.
That's true. He probably turns Super Saiyan and it all just falls away. Like Nair.
Yeah, must be nice.
Except for Super Saiyan 4, then it's just like super bush.
Right, and then it's just 70s. Boom.
His dick has sideburns.
So one of these days I'm going to win a Dane quiz. Today is not one of those days.
Oh, I make them tricky. And after recording, I'll tell you the question that got cut. It was a little bit even much for me, and I couldn't find proof, and it got me on a government watch list trying to Google verification for it.
All right, you win this one, Dalton.
All right, then, boys. We got
Congratulations.
We got a few questions. I think I'm going to stick to just the Dragon Ball Z related ones for now, and I'll put the like Halloween candy ones and stuff on a Spooktober episode. So Adam has a few questions. Favorite Dragon Ball character? Mine is Vegeta. Yep, Vegeta. All right, yeah, that was unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous.
And he's probably sitting there nodding his head like, yeah, yep.
Yeah, Vegeta.
Now, if you want to make it most entertaining in a moment, I will differ slightly and say Vegito, just because the cockiness goes so through the roof and he goes through so much bullshit just to be an asshole. Vegito is fun, but yeah, Vegeta.
Piccolo is a second favorite.
Piccolo's rad. Dude, growing up, I loved Yamcha. Don't know why. I think it's because he was the underdog.
Also a ladies'
I actually
man.
really like Krillin.
I can't stand Krillin. Am I one of the few who
Seeing him at the
celebrates
end of the
whenever
game,
he dies?
when he has hair at the end of the game, I was like, what?
You should see him and Vegeta with mustaches in GT.
It's also like I didn't realize until this game that Yamcha was a villain in the original Dragon Ball.
He was.
I was
I think
like,
Tien
oh.
was too.
Yeah, just about every one of Goku's friends started off wanting to kill him.
That just does not surprise me for some reason, because it just continued. Vegeta and Piccolo.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Arguably, at this point in the Super manga, Frieza.
Yeah, I remember. I think I remember Dustin mentioning that to me. So Adam's next question: which character would you want to train with?
King Kai.
Oh, I'm soft and pigeon-chested, and Kami seems like a kind soul, so I'd probably go with Kami. I think I would be the most likely
Yeah.
to survive that one.
Although I think King Kai is his training style. I feel like is a little bit more different. Like you're not gonna get in fights and get beaten up. You're gonna be doing more like spiritual stuff.
And plus, I would qualify because I can crack a damn joke.
That's true.
I think I would go Gohan, because if he can teach Dr. Satan's daughter how to fly and she's a fucking human, I'll take it.
You're giving Hercule a PhD now?
Did I say Dr. Satan? Dude, listen.
Yeah.
I've been doing that even in Discord, like talking about it, like fucking House of 1,000 Corpses. Dr. Satan! It's like it's just burned into my brain. So Mr. Satan, Dr. Satan, I crossed those two up. Yeah. All right. Next Adam question. Favorite Toriyama franchise or piece of media?
Chrono Trigger. I'm not even gonna hesitate there.
All right.
That is a tough call because Chrono Trigger is a good pull. I want to go with what I've spent the most time with, and it wouldn't be Dragon Ball Z.
All right.
I really enjoy Super, but I know that he was just kind of an ideas guy, and he wasn't, the main creative. But yeah, probably Z.
Man. My answer kind of counts because it was his art, but he didn't necessarily do any of the other stuff for it. But Dragon Quest, I love
Dragon
that Toriyama
Quest is
art
good.
in Dragon Quest. And then, all right, Adam's final question.
Specifically 11 or Dragon Quest period?
Just Dragon Quest period. But we can say if we wanted to get in specifics, then Dragon Quest 11, yeah.
Got it.
Adam also asked most memorable scene from the anime. I feel like we've already kind of touched on that throughout, but yeah, I think we already touched on that like earlier when we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. We did touch on that.
So, last one from Adam. Would you play a mod of DBZ Kakarot that reskins Goku as Yamcha and lets the dude finally get a win?
On one condition. If it transformed it into a Souls game, because Yamcha should not survive any fights with anybody, make it just brutally difficult. Every inch that you're moving you're fighting for every drop of survival. I would be in for that.
I would just want to play as Yamcha because, let's give our boy a win.
Yeah,
Oh, and the you died scene would have to be that classic meme of him just, spread ale in the crater.
Dude, the freaking Cyberman exploded. That was insane.
So the last question that we'll do, and I'll save the rest of them for the next episode, is from Fenris. You are offered $250 million, but to claim it, you must enter the last video game that you've played and stay there for a full year. If you accept the deal, how's life there?
Last game I played was Final Fantasy 14, so I'm gonna get to Limsa Lominsa. Maybe I'll get a house if I'm lucky, and if not, I'll just go to the inn, hang out, go do some adventures. I'm down. I'm totally down to live in Limsa.
What about you?
I'm 50 Shades of fucked because the last game I played is still Elden Ring.
Oh, you're cooked.
That sucks.
The upside is presumably I would get the benefits of being tarnished. So while I would get killed every 5 minutes for a solid year, I would at least come back at a side of grace.
That's true. I loaded up Kakarot an hour before we started the show to play some of the card games. So I guess it would be Kakarot. So let me go ahead and say that if it's where I'm at in the game now, I'd be fine because it's peaceful as far as I know. Because I haven't started the DLC.
But not
so I'm
for
in intermission.
long.
But yeah, not for long because I'm going to end up having to go deal with Beerus in one of the DLC because you play through the super stuff in DLCs. So yeah, that's I would be probably fucked as well. Well, boys, that brings us to the end here. I do want to say that we're into October, but this is now Spooktober, and we're going to be doing weekly episodes. So next week, me and Willie will hopefully be back with a game called Iron Lung, and I will also be guesting on. You've already announced the next. Yeah, you already have on Media Dump.
Yeah,
Right?
I did
Okay.
announce it at the end of our last episode.
On the next Media Dump, you will hear me guesting on there for Alien, the original Ridley Scott's Alien, and then the week after that, at least Dane, maybe Jeff too, will be on Steam Machine to talk about Alien Isolation. So we're going to do that meld. And then the week after, we can go ahead and give you the schedule for October. The week after that, Mikhailov has recommended a game called Dungeon Munchies.
About as spooky as I get.
I have no idea what that is, but I am down to try it out. And then the week after that, we're going to be doing freebies. And the one that I've got concrete so far is Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 1.
Also an anime.
Which is a anime visual novel that is supposed to be pretty disturbing. So I'm here for it. So it should be fun. So that's going to be the lineup for Spooktober, man. If you would please leave a like and comment. like this is YouTube. Leave a like and comment and subscribe. No, I've been watching too many YouTube videos
On all of those banned videos now.
Oh my, yeah. Let's not even go there. Fucking YouTube. Oh my god. Okay, so leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, specifically iTunes and Spotify. That really helps us out in the algorithm and people finding the show. You want to check us out over on Discord, bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters. There have been like an influx of people coming and joining the Discord. I've been happy to see it. I would like to see that more. That's where all the fun happens. There's some polls up that you can vote on for the fan polls for the games that y'all get to pick that we play. And it's been some heavy hitters that are winning here lately. Check out the website, which is kept up to date by Mr. Puzzle Zane himself, bit.ly/The Steam Machine Podcast, capitalized phonetically. If you would like to donate money to the show, patreon.com/The Steam Machine Podcast. $1 or more a month gives you the episodes early and ad-free, and possibly the TTRPGs that we're going to do before they go onto the main feed, if they do, once that gets figured out. But if you do $10 or more, You can get all of that, plus your name read out on each and every episode, like these wonderful people. Nate Cogsworth, the 7th of June-iper, Jeff, the original Expendable, Mr. Syllables, old Jeffy Lube, Ariesoradam, Team Retrogue, go check him out over on YouTube, Mr. Puzzles Dane himself, Chad the Mad Lad, no goddamn C in his last name, Shaffer, and Flyin, Brian, Doran Gray. Whew. I'm going to add Flyin to that. I'm going to make that word, I'm going to make that harder and harder to say for myself. Like, God, I love making long nicknames if you can't tell. Anyway, thank you very much. It helps out a lot. It really does. The Patreon money this month went towards me getting my little baby girl spayed. Let me clarify. She's a puppy. So anyway.
Key information.
Yeah.
You got to be really careful.
Shout out to Yabs Pod.
It's a strange world nowadays.
Shout out to Yabs Pod, yet another BS podcast. Go check it out in the archives. Shout out to the JRPG Report, a weekly or bi-weekly JRPG news show. We just covered some Tokyo Game Show goodness that came out, so do pop over there and give that a look as well. You like the music? NileTheNightmare.bandcamp.com, and check out my album The Longing by Tragedy Idol up on Spotify. Mikhailov, plug your channel, my good sir, and don't forget we played a game.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm going to be recording We Played a Game tomorrow if I'm awake enough for it. Nefarious and I like to do a little podcast where we play retro games, and we are playing... Haha, you want to hear something funny?
No.
Katamari Damacy.
No.
So I get to talk about that game again. But we get to hear Nefarious' thoughts on it, so should be a fun time. And you can find that at youtube.com/@TeamRetrogue.
Where you can also find his videos about all the handhelds that you could ever want to learn about.
Including ones that run Linux.
Yes.
Woot.
Now, Dane, plug your show, my good sir.
All right. You can check me and our good old buddy, Mr. Grumpy Jeff, out on Dane and Jeff's Media Dump. We release on normally TSMP's off weeks. Talk about a little bit of everything. And as we mentioned earlier, next week we'll be talking about Alien. So come in, and fun challenge for everybody coming in. See if you can catch the fourth wall breaks in the original Alien before we talk about it. If you look it up on Google, it don't count.
All right, I won't look it up before I watch.
That.
I won't look.
There's two of them. That's the argument that I want to make for the show. There's two of them.
All right.
And we are available wherever all fine podcasts are sold.
All right, then. We will be back next week with some Iron Lung, and then back in 2 weeks with Alien Isolation. Boys, thank you for doing this episode with me. And until next time, everybody, take it easy.
Fly away. 体中に広がるパノラマ。顔を蹴られた地球が起こって火山を爆発させる。溶けた氷の中に恐竜がいたら玉乗りしこみたいね。チャラヘチャラ何が起きても気分はへのへのかった。チャラヘチャラ胸がバチバチするほど騒ぐ元気だな。空を急降下ジェットコースター落ちてゆくよパニックのその絵景色逆さになると愉快さやばさお尻に見える悩む時間はないよどこかに潜む